Show up for your team at Round Table Pizza.
You're watching NBC Bay Area on election night. Polls just about to close at 8 p.m. and soon after that, results will start rolling in. And we've got our teams fanned out across the Bay Area right now. Take a live look at just a few of our cameras. We're covering watch parties from candidates to the governor's race to seats in Congress to district attorneys. And we'll provide live coverage on our streaming platform starting in just 1 minute at 8 p.m. and then back here at 10 p.m. on NBC Bay Area. And don't forget, NBCBayArea.com.
Can you talk to me, please, because I'm not hearing you.
or a storm. So those couriers, they head out not that long ago, going to those different polling locations, picking up the paper ballots, the digital cartridges, which are those electronic votes from the voting machines, packaging those up, and they're bringing them back really any minute now and throughout the night, where it's going to get pretty crazy out here. Joining me live is Andre D'Acampo from the Registrar of Voters Office. Now, Andre, it's quite an operation. I'm looking around. There's a lot of color coding, numbers, vests, cores. What are we looking at?
So as we begin to close our 112 vote centers, we'll have a few different types of bags coming back from our vote centers. We have our orange bags, which are our live ballots from that day, as well as our results cartridges, which will give us our initial results for the evening, as well as our blue bags, which are our vote-by-mail ballots, and our pink bags, which are our provisional voter registration and conditional voter registration ballots.
So every single color, including the vest on the volunteers, the cross on the tables, this is all showing where the ballots are coming from. Very organized to make it very efficient, right?
Yes, we have multiple teams who are coordinating at the same time to make sure that we can get everything back organized and ready to start processing.
Can you like trying to explain exactly these digital cartridges? Because I hear it every year, but still people are like, well, what are those again? It's electronic votes from the voting centers. What are they showing?
So we still use paper ballots for everything, but as voters vote in the vote center and they return those ballots, we have a cartridge in the machines that collects that information so that we can get those initial results out to voters right away, but we use those later with the paper ballots to cross-reference to make sure that we get the accurate intent.
All right, so we got both the paper ballots as well as these electronic cartridges coming in. We're not seeing cars just yet, but you're expecting cars to come in with those boxes, with those bags pretty soon, right?
Yes, so all of our vote centers close at 8 p.m., so those that did not have voters in line at that time have already started the process to close down the vote centers and bring back those bags. And the ones that still have voters, they'll still be able to vote if they were in line before 8 p.m.
It's 8:06 right now. When do you think it's going to get crazy busy? When do you think, most of the ballots, most of those cartridges will be here at the office?
Within the next 25, 30 minutes, about 40 to 50% of them will be back through, and that remaining 40 to 50% or 50+% will come back over the next hour, hour and a half after that.
And of course, what everyone's wondering, when will we start seeing initial numbers, initial results, and maybe some initial final results?
So we got our initial results at 8 p.m. today, which are our vote-by-mail ballots up to date. Our results cartridge results are posted tonight around midnight.
All right. Thank you so much again. That's Andre D'Acampo with the Registrar of Voters Office explaining this operation. It really is an operation behind me. Now, a funny story for you guys. I had done this assignment before a couple of years ago, and we were out here thinking that things were going to calm down around 9:30, but then we found out that at San Jose State and Stanford, the folks there were helping people vote late, getting their votes in. Nothing wrong with that. But it was a long and eventful night that ended at like 2 hours later, so we'll see how tonight goes. But, it's all exciting, and at the end of the day, it's all smiles here. People are having a lot of fun, and they know what they're doing is very important. Actually, a few minutes ago, I saw a bunch of volunteers sing happy birthday to one of the volunteers who was working on her birthday, as well election day. So, all smiles here. Really good spirit. Back to you guys in the studio.
I think what Candace is telling us for sure it's not.
Yeah, it's a long night for everybody there behind you, as well as you, Candace. You're going to be live with us all night, streaming and on NBC Bay Area a bit later. Thank you so much. Still a lot of activity going on at the Registrar of Office. The big election tonight is who will replace Governor Newsom. He has turned out. There are a lot of prominent candidates. One of them is Mayor Matt Mahan of San Jose. He kind of jumped into the race late, considering, but these are the top 8 candidates right now vying for California governor. Damian Trujillo is at the Matt Mahan Watch Party. He's not feeling as but he is not giving up. He is moving forward, and they're still very hopeful with the results tonight.
100%. I spoke to him just an hour and a half or so ago, and he was still optimistic that something good was going to happen. Here he is right now. He's getting ready to take the stage. He was going to go up as soon as the initial results came out, and so right now he's talking to his children, giving their advice on what he should say. His wife is also here in attendance, right now talking to his comms director. He's very optimistic. I did speak with him as he was getting off the Caltrain station. He was coming in from San Francisco, sort of like his last hurrah before the night ended. But here's what he said about even getting into the race. Well, it's really about my name. It's about getting out solutions to our biggest problems.
screen and crossing his fingers. Janelle.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Thank you, Damien.
Interesting hearing what Mayor Matt May had said to Damien's response. Obviously, the question was if he was kind of getting into the race to up his profile. And he dismissed that, but there's no doubt that he's gotten his name out. He has upped his profile within the state just being in this race. Now, not polling terribly high and probably not going to make the runoff, but if that was his goal or not, he has succeeded in raising his profile. But let's go from Santa Clara County up to Alameda County. Lots going on up there. Voters decided several high-profile races, including who will serve as the county's top prosecutor. NBC Bay Area's Valina Jones is in Oakland. And Valina, this is not just an isolated race. There's a history here.
Yeah, there's definitely a history. Before we lay out that history, I want to lay out the scene where we are right now. We are at a watch party for the current DA, Ursula Jones Dixon, and I'll show you what that history was in just a bit. You can see a lot of people are here. DA Jones Dixon said she wanted to really gather everybody just to thank them for their support along the way. And if you're wondering how we got here, back in 2024, nearly 63% of voters approved a recall of the then DA, Pamela Price. The Board of Supervisors then appointed DA Ursula Jones Dixon to fill that role. Now Jones Dixon is running to finish the term, while Price is trying to win it back. Now a third candidate, Gopal Kirshan, a family and immigration attorney, is also vying for the county's top prosecutor seat. Some voters say that it was very easy to make these local election decisions because they have been so invested in it while we were at the voter of registrars earlier today. Now, I spoke to DA Jones Dixon moments ago, and if you recall, she took over in February of 2025. She says she wants to finish that work that she started. Here's what she said.
So I feel good about the moment because I feel good about every moment that I get up in the morning. The work that I'm trying to do here to make sure that victims' rights are at the center of everything that we're doing. And I feel really good about that course correct because I feel like that was not the case the 2 years before I got here. We are working really hard to make sure we are resolving cases the way they should be resolved, trying cases that should have been tried, getting through the backlog that was left to us both for charging cases and for trying cases. And I feel confident that this set of lawyers is willing to do that work with me because I can't do it on my own.
Now you see DA Jones Dixon right there in the pink. She is having fun talking with supporters and colleagues. Again, she says this is a watch party and a opportunity to thank people who have supported her along the way. Again, when you heard that sound, she says she feels like she has much more to do. If she wins, she would finish the remainder of the term, which ends in 2028. Sending it back to you.
Okay, this is a contentious race with a lot of history, like Valina said. We'll have to see how it all plays out. Okay, these two candidates very well known for Alameda County. Thank you so much, Valina.
Okay, here we go. 8:14, 14 minutes after the hour. We were promised some results, and these are the first results we've seen so far in the California governor's race. You can see the first preliminary results come in. Steve Hilton, Republican candidate, 28%. Javier Becerra, 25%. Tom Steyer, 17%. And Chad Bianco, 14%. So very preliminary results. Very few. These are likely, from what we heard, the result of a lot of the mail-in votings that are being reported immediately. We continue to the next four candidates. Matt Mahan, mayor of San Jose, 6%. Katie Porter at 5%, former mayor of Los Angeles, Antonio Villaraigosa, 1%, and the State Secretary of Education, Tony Thurmond, at 1% as well. Again, our first numbers in for the look at this very contentious governor's race. As a reminder, you're going to hear it a lot tonight. The top two vote getters in this race will go to a runoff in November, regardless of party affiliation. So as more numbers come in, this will take a clearer picture of the governor's race, and we'll obviously bring you the results as we get them.
And 2% of the precincts reporting so far, according to the California State Election website. And polling in third, or coming in third right now, I think, is Tom Steyer.
Yes.
He is the billionaire Democrat. NBC Bay Area's Gia Vang is live at his watch party in San Francisco. Very early numbers so far. We have a long night ahead of us. Have you seen the candidates so far, Gia?
Hi, Janelle. No, we have not seen him so far. Steyer's team says he's going to get here probably around 9:30. Unclear when he's going to speak behind us at this stage. We want to give you a look at what's happening here. The room has really filled up since they opened this to the public about 7:30. Tom Steyer, as you mentioned, 68-year-old Democrat. He is the gubernatorial race's billionaire, amassing wealth through an SF hedge fund. His campaign has highlighted a tension that liberal voters have been wrestling with. They wonder if they can be okay with a billionaire's political policies. Now, his campaign has been all about a progressive path. He's been telling voters he'll make California more affordable, reduce inequality, make polluters, not taxpayers, pay, and tax billionaires with plans like closing the corporate tax loophole to pay for schools and healthcare and going to single-payer healthcare. And a couple of folks that we actually talked to here tonight are from the Nurses Association, and they told us they're here to support him because he wants to go to that single-payer healthcare. Now, Steyer has also said he is going to help solve California's housing problems. He's pledging to build 1 million homes in California in 4 years, making it faster, cheaper to build, and cutting red tape. He's been trying to message that to working class Democrats who fear they're getting priced out of California. Now, this is a historic campaign because Steyer has spent more than $200 million of his own money on this race. We've been talking about this, about $220 million. It raised his profile immediately. Steyer argues that his personal wealth means he's not beholden to corporate interests, unlike his opponents, Javier Becerra, who he's attacked for relying on donations from oil companies like Chevron. Now, the latest polls show Steyer in the top 3, so a lot of people here, they feel pretty good about where this night is headed. We talked to Steyer's team earlier tonight, and they say they're pretty confident. They referenced those polls. I said, well, how serious does Steyer himself take it? And they said, well, you know, it really is a snapshot of what's happening, but they feel pretty good that all the polls have showed him in the top 3. Back to you guys.
Great, Gia. Thank you very much. We want to stay in San Francisco, shift from the governor's race to the race to replace Nancy Pelosi. We have the first results coming in there.
Yeah, and 10% of the precincts now reporting. This is for the 11th congressional district. We want to show you the results so far. These are the candidates right now. No votes coming in reported yet for District 11, but this is to replace Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. She is retiring after decades of serving this country. We've seen Shawkat Chakrabarti very prominently. Pelosi has endorsed Connie Chan as her successor. So State Senator Scott Wiener is also running. We've seen a lot of his campaign ads making the airwaves. He's a former San Francisco supervisor and currently the state senator here in California. Connie Chan, who has received endorsements by other congressional lawmakers, is a current San Francisco supervisor.
Yeah, our Begad Shaban is in San Francisco at Scott Wiener's campaign headquarters and joins us now. I'm sure everybody's dying to get those first numbers in, Begad.
Yeah, they certainly are. Good to be with you guys. We're here at the campaign office, which is where they're having the watch party. We're just off of a very busy Market Street in the Castro. This is where Senator Wiener has actually spent the last 30 or some years living in this neighborhood. As you mentioned, he's a current state senator, been serving for about a decade, former San Francisco supervisor. I had the opportunity to spend some time with him in the campaign earlier today as he was meeting supporters out on Market Street. He is pretty confident that he is going to be in the top 2 by the end of the night. For him, he says that the issues that continue to stand out to San Franciscans all have to do with affordability. It's about voters wanting to be able to stay in this city and be able to afford to stay in this city. So certainly his top issues, he tells us, are housing. He's certainly been an advocate for public transit. And it's important to note, as you guys kind of referenced, what makes this position so unique is there hasn't been a new face in it for 39 years. That, of course, is because Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi has occupied that position. Interestingly, though, while Senator Wiener certainly has a long history of working with Pelosi, when she offered her endorsement, she actually gave it elsewhere, actually to current Supervisor Connie Chan. So we actually had the chance to ask Senator Wiener about that very fact.
You
have a long history of working with former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Were you surprised that her endorsement went elsewhere, and do you think it will have any effect on this election?
Yeah, I think the world of Nancy Pelosi. She has moved mountains for our country, for San Francisco. She and I have worked together for years. She's helped with important legislation that I was able to pass in the legislature. And so I think so highly of her. She made a choice about who she wanted to endorse, and that's her choice entirely. Obviously, I disagree with it, but I respect her right to make whatever choice she makes.
Do you at all see that as the result of you announcing your candidacy before she officially announced that she wasn't going to continue in office?
You know, I don't want to comment on or speculate about why Speaker Emerita Pelosi made the choice that she made. I got into the race because I think it's so important for San Francisco to continue to have strong representation in Congress. We don't need representation by someone who just blows hot air and makes cool videos. That's not what San Franciscans need.
So, of course, one of his candidates, Shoykat Chakrabarti, has certainly made a name for himself for incredibly flashy videos on social media. I then, after you heard that answer from the senator, I asked him if he happened to be basically talking about one of his candidates. He smiled and said, possibly. But again, tonight we are looking at a fairly confident Senator Wiener sort of making his way across the crowd. He got here maybe about 5 minutes or so, so we'll be sure to bring you his comments as soon as he gets here on the stage. For now, we'll send it back to you guys.
Okay, Begat Shaban, thank you so much. State Senator Scott Wiener just entering his campaign party. He is running for a Nancy Pelosi seat who is retiring.
Okay, let's bring in now somebody who's going to help us understand everything that happens. We can tell you, but we don't understand it, and that is Melinda Jackson, professor of politics at San Jose State. Professor, thank you so much for taking time to join us tonight. First question, our first results are in. You know, it's about 8:15. The first numbers dropped. Now, from what I understand, these original numbers are most likely vote by mail numbers. Do I have that right?
That's right. I wouldn't get too excited yet. Remember, we have a very small percentage of the vote reported so far. And because on the Democratic side, there were so many choices and not a clear front runner, a lot of people waited until the last minute and dropped off the ballots today or turned out in person. So it's going to take a few days to make sure that all of those ballots get counted. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the top three kind of trading places in the lead a few times before we get the final result.
Professor Jackson, I mean, I know a lot of people I've spoken to waited to vote until today because there was not like a candidate standing out front that they wanted to vote for. They wanted to wait, assess, and then wait until Election Day. Will that delay when some of these final results will come in? I mean, how long are we talking about? Probably not tonight to know who the top two candidates will move forward for governor, but tomorrow, the next few days, weeks?
Yeah, I think we could hope for tomorrow or the next couple of days, but it could well take longer. It really depends on what the turnout is, especially
Professor
with this
Jackson, I'm
last-minute
so
surge.
sorry. We do have to interrupt because we're going to hear from San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan. He's taking the stage right now.
Here. Let me start with a special thanks to my wife Sylvia and our kids Nina and Luke. Sylvia, you are the love of my life. You are the reason I could enter this race, and our kids are the reason I did. I want to congratulate my fellow candidates on a hard-fought campaign. And I want to thank our incredible team and all of you who are not just supporters, but champions for building a better California. While this campaign for governor ends tonight, which Nina and Luke are frankly kind of happy about, our mission has only just begun. To have a government in Sacramento that makes life better for Californians, we have to pay attention and make our voices heard all the time, not just on Election Day. That's what this campaign is about, and it's what I have always been about. Government should work for you, not the politicians or the special interests. I'm proud. I'm proud of what we have accomplished together in just 4 months for many reasons. Here are 3. First, we set the conversation and the tone of this race. California moved closer to the right ideas because we brought them to the forefront. That started before I even knew I was going to jump in, when we invited the candidates to San Jose to see what was working on homelessness. And even my Republican opponents couldn't deny our progress. All right, boys, off the stage. We did it again when we released our plan to build more housing, and all the candidates had to rework their own to catch up. We came out with a plan to save Hollywood by bringing film production back, and our opponents once again followed suit. After we called to reform the gas tax to provide immediate relief to working families, every debate included a question asking our opponents if they would do the same. And if our next governor actually implements the solutions we offered, our city will be better off for it, and so will our entire state. Second, I am so proud that we ran a campaign focused on results, not empty rhetoric or impossible promises. I am, and Luke, please cover your ears, a get shit done Democrat. That's how we ran this race, and it's how we run San Jose. And third, more than anything, I am so proud to tell the story of what we've started to do here in San Jose and what it means for our state. Over the past 4 months, everywhere I go, in every room I've walked into, I've said the same 7 words. Here's what we're doing in San Jose. I've had the privilege of telling our whole state about our city, about our problems, about our progress, about our people. I met dozens of folks in the Palisades, Altadena, and Malibu who lost their homes. Some are still paying mortgages on empty lots, wondering if they'll ever get to rebuild. I told them how we unblocked thousands of new homes that are now under construction by cutting excessive fees, by removing unnecessary regulation, by approving permits in weeks, not years. And I told them, if we can do it in San Jose, we could do it for them too. They have hope because we proved California can do better. I met a man named Clark in MacArthur Park. MacArthur Park is LA's version of our Columbus Park before we cleared it and moved hundreds of people indoors. Clark used to manage Pizza Huts until he lost his job and became socially isolated during the pandemic. He's been homeless ever since. I told him what we've done here, how we've moved thousands of people indoors by building 2,000 tiny homes and converted motel rooms, reduced homelessness by 1/3. I told him how hard we fought together against a status quo that accepted sprawling tent encampments as inevitable. And I told him if we could do it here in San Jose, we could do it in Los Angeles too. Clark has hope because we proved California can do better. I met the Blue Angels in Oakland, a group of neighbors who patrol Chinatown to keep their community safe. We talked about crime, from retail theft and public drug use to anti-Asian hate, which makes people feel unsafe being outside day or night. I thanked them for what they're doing and told them it shouldn't have to be this way. I told them San Jose became the safest big city in the country last year. I told them we reduced gun violence. I told them we've reduced gun violence by 71%, more than any other big city in the nation, and solved 100% of homicides nearly 4 years running. And I told them if we can do it in San Jose, we can do it in Oakland too. They have hope. They have hope. Because we proved California can do better. I met Christina, Zulema, and Naomi in downtown LA who are dealing with a different kind of fear. They each own a business in their fashion district, and their businesses are on the brink of closing because indiscriminate ICE raids have terrorized their entire neighborhood. I told them how in San Jose we've banned law enforcement from unnecessarily wearing masks and funded legal services to ensure due process for our neighbors. Zulema made Sylvia and me promise we would come back and do the same for them. And I told her, if we can do it in San Jose, we can do it for her neighborhood. She has hope because we've proved California can do better. I met some folks in San Francisco last week. They are staying in the city's only sober living shelter, similar to the Salvation Army site we're helping to expand here in San Jose. They've chosen to get clean, and they want to be around other people who have chosen the same. They said something I've heard again and again from former addicts. There is no recovery without accountability. And there is no recovery without hope. They want to see that same hope for their friends who are still on the streets. I told them that I would keep fighting alongside them to change state laws that make it nearly impossible to create sober living environments in California. I told them that if these sites can work in San Jose and San Francisco, we can build them statewide. They have hope because we've proved California can do better. I've shaken hands with thousands of people over these 4 short months. I've shared our successes and lessons learned, shared what's possible when you do things differently. Everywhere I've gone in this campaign, we've proven that a better California is possible because we're doing it right here in San Jose. We didn't do it by promising the moon. We did it by promising progress and proving that we could actually achieve it. Because the truth is, people don't care about big promises. They've heard them all before. And by not achieving them, our leaders have proven their words mean little. People have lost trust. And when people lose trust, that's when things really get bad. That's what we're seeing in our country right now. More and more people are either tuning out or turning toward extreme views at both ends of the political spectrum. The answer is making our government deliver, rebuilding trust by showing that the problems we see every day are actually solvable. Not just here in San Jose, not just in California, but across this nation. We have the right values. We love our neighbors. We believe in freedom, opportunity, and justice for all. We stand up for the First Amendment and our democratic institutions. We believe in fair wages and tackling climate change, and we know the value of embracing difference and diversity. But we need to show that our values work in practice. We need to show that we can govern in a way that makes people's lives better.
Okay. You've been listening to San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan. He's talking to his supporters at his watch party. He is running for California governor. We want to show you the latest results that are in right now for California governor. Governor Newsom has turned out Xavier Becerra in the lead, tied with Steve Hilton, Republican, with 26% of the votes, followed by Tom Steyer, Republican Chad Bianco. Then we have Katie Porter, former Congresswoman, and Matt Mahan with 5% of the votes. We want to bring in our Professor Melinda Jackson back, Professor of Politics at San Jose State. Melinda Jackson, Professor, thank you so much. He is speaking right now. It almost sounds like a campaign speech. Is it just because Nina and Luke are there? Sorry for the language, by the way. He did use an expletive. Because it's bedtime for them? Or is this kind of like an early concession speech and one more pitch out there to know that he's going to possibly run for something else in the future?
Yeah, I think it's one last chance for him to get his message to the voters. It did sound like the beginning of a concession speech to me, although, he may wait a little longer. But, he's trying to make the most of this opportunity, again, to build his name recognition, to connect with voters outside of San Jose and the Bay Area. He's a pretty popular mayor here in San Jose, but, that was very deliberate that he was shouting out, all the other California cities that he's been visiting, I think, to try to build his message and his movement for probably a future campaign.
Interesting. Before we broke away to hear from Mayor Matt Mahan, you were just telling us that, take these early results with a grain of salt, and then we broke away, and then within that time, the lead changed. Before he spoke, Steve Hilton was in the lead, and now Xavier Becerra is in the lead. So this just kind of bolsters what you're saying. With these early results, way too early to tell anything.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the voters who did decide earlier and sent in their ballots earlier, I'm not surprised that they're tending to be the Hilton voters and the Becerra voters, whereas Tom Steyer might benefit more from the last minute voters. So, anything is possible really among those top three, I think.
Okay, Professor Jackson, we appreciate you so much. I know you're going to be hanging around with us the entire night, analyzing the latest results, and we will check back with you in a few minutes. Thank you so much, Professor. Earlier, we heard from State Senator Scott Wiener's watch party. Brigad Shaban was there. Marianne Favreau is at one of his rivals, the watch party for congressional candidate Connie Chan. She is looking to replace Speaker Emerita Pelosi. She has also got the endorsement of the Speaker Emerita. And Marianne, thank you so much for joining us live from San Francisco. Any sign of Connie yet? Is she there yet?
No, she has not arrived yet, but I do want to show you that her supporters have certainly arrived. And here on the stage, you can see some of the things that she believes in: people over profit with working families, and workers over billionaires. People here are all her supporters, and they're really hoping that by the end of the night, they will be celebrating. Now, we're told that Connie is at an event supporting Measure D right now and will be here later tonight. The San Francisco supervisor is a progressive Democrat, a working mom, and an Asian American immigrant, and she is running against two other Democrats, State Senators Scott Wiener and tech exec Shoykat Chakrabarti. Now, just 2 weeks ago, as you mentioned, just 2 weeks before this election, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi endorsed Chan to take over her 11th district congressional seat. Well, that has been a big boost to Connie's campaign, and supporters hope that it's going to be enough to make sure that she lands on the ballot in November. They checked the ballot so far. We don't know yet the early results for Connie Chan, but they said in about 20 minutes they're going to read some of those early results. So these people are anxiously awaiting what they will find from voters. Reporting live in San Francisco, back to you.
Great. Marianne, thank you very much. Okay, polls closed now about 40 minutes ago. We've just been getting some of the original results. We've got some results in from the governor, and some other races are coming in. And one of those big races in the East Bay, the race to replace Representative Congressman Eric Swalwell. We have our first results in. This is District 14 for U.S. Representative. You see, with 36% Aisha Wahab, and then with 16% Melissa Hernandez, both Democrats in this case, polling 1 and 2 with early results in this election. NBC Bay Area's Pete Serratos joins us now from Pleasanton. Pete, you're going to be watching this race closely all night, aren't you?
Again, the polls here in Pleasanton at Valley View Elementary have closed, but voters here in Congressional District 14, they're going to be asked to vote again in 2 weeks to fill the vacated seat of former Congressman Eric Swalwell. Now, of course, Swalwell resigned back in April amid sexual assault allegations, which opened up a special election for June 16th to fill his vacated seat through the end of the year. But tonight, voters are casting ballots in the primary with the top 2 vote getters moving on to the general election in November. But here's what voters are saying about voting in another election 2 weeks from now.
I don't like it. I think our funds can be used more efficiently. But sometimes there is this established bureaucracy that needs to be followed. So that's kind of my perspective.
It was confusing to drop it off as well. So I had to just, do a little more reading. And I just asked them inside if I could drop off both of the ballots today instead of dropping off the second one in 2 weeks. And so they said yes.
Cleanly marked on the envelope on the date when it needs to be turned in. Didn't need to vote for the fool right now. Vote who we want to do, and it's perfect. Super easy.
They're going to have one interim, and then they're going to have somebody that it's only for a short period, and the other one comes in. I mean, it's pretty, straightforward. So, I mean, it makes sense.
So again, the top 2 vote getters tonight will face off in November in the general election, and then the winner of that June 16th special election will serve out the remainder of Swalwell's term. We'll send it back to you.
Yes. So thank you so much, Pete. So yes, 2 ballots. One is for this primary election. It's to see who's going to serve the full term of Eric Swalwell's next term starting in 2027. And the other ballot is who's going to replace him and fill the remainder of his term. That's actually not due till June 16th. But as you saw, one voter just turned it in at the same time. The top 2 vote getters will. This is a special election that will have another election on August 18th. So it is confusing for people.
Exactly. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, particularly with the governor's race. So many names on the ballot that added some confusion for people in this district. That's got to be so confusing. Am I vote? Which election am I voting in? Do I have the right ballot? So that really has to add some confusion to what's going on.
Right. And then I think if we have the polls right now in the lead. And the top 2 are, you mentioned, Aisha Wahab. She is currently a California state senator, and Melissa Hernandez. She is the mayor of Dublin. So that is a big race. There's actually 3 congressional districts in the Bay Area, 3 seats that there's being elections for. That's the 11th district out of San Francisco area, the 4th congressional district, which is Swalwell's district, which is mostly the East Bay. And then there's the 17th district, which is Ro Khanna. He's the current incumbent, and that's Silicon Valley.
Yeah, and we're talking about early results and take them with a grain of salt. But so far in the governor's race, Xavier Becerra is in first with Steve Hilton in second with about 12% of the.
Oh no! Look, it keeps flip-flopping.
It keeps flip-flopping.
They're both at 26%.
So now they're at 20. What I was saying was, I think last count I saw 12% of the vote in, but I'll have to check and see.
And it's really tight. I mean, Steve Hilton is ahead just by 10,000 votes, but it's just going to keep flipping, as Professor Jackson kept saying. It's just going to flip-flop throughout the night. And then maybe people who support Tom Steyer, they voted today. Those results may be coming in.
And speaking of Xavier Becerra, let's go live to his campaign headquarters, his election night rally with Lolita Lopez from our NBC sister station in Los Angeles. Lolita, how are things looking there? People got to be pretty optimistic.
Optimistic indeed, but it's still a little bit cautious, right? Those results are coming in and they're feeling really good about it. In fact, the campaign manager that I was talking to earlier was telling us, he has always been the underdog, but he's really coming forward. So they're trying to remain optimistic, but this is a very lively event. Hundreds of people are expected here, from folks from the labor union, of course, the son of Mexican immigrants, the first to go to college in his family. He's very much has had that support over his 3+ decades in public office from the U.S. Secretary of Health Health and Human Services to the California Attorney General's office. Of course, he has done so much also as a congressman. In fact, where we are standing here, he picked this place specifically in downtown Los Angeles near Olvera Street, which is very much in the heart of our Mexican community here. To him, it is very important, kind of the birthplace of Los Angeles, as the campaign likes to say. And it was here that he had an event when he was a Congress member many, many moons ago. So he's hoping for the same type of positive result coming here, but they're not quite sure that they're going to be able to just take one and run home. Right now, he is here with his family. He was here all day today after voting in his hometown of Sacramento yesterday. He flew in last night and he was here and he had lunch with his family. His wife is here, his 3 daughters and son-in-law, and he really wanted to have that sort of atmosphere, not just within his little insular unit, but also here with this type of event. So we're going to continue to follow along with this throughout the night, and we'll bring you more from here as this night progresses.
Thank you
That's the very
so
latest
much.
from downtown Los Angeles. Lolita Lopez, back to you.
We didn't mean to cut you off. We have to do some results right now and take a look at the updated results for this quick cut-in. So thank you so much. That's Lolita Lopez from our sister station in LA at Javier Becerra's event.
And we'll be back in a couple minutes.
You're watching NBC Bay Area News on election night, and the polls closed about 45 minutes ago, and we want to update you on some of the early results.
Yeah, let's start, of course, with the big race, the race for governor. You're looking at the results that have come in so far. A tie at the top. Republican Steve Hilton, Democrat Javier Becerra, 1-2 right at the top. Following in third, Tom Steyer, and then fourth, Chad Bianco with 12% of the vote. In the East Bay, the race for district attorney, incumbent Ursula Jones Dixon currently holding a lead over Pamela Price. You see Ursula Dixon with 66%, Pamela Price with just 23% in that race.
And then a quick look at House seat District 14. Aisha Wahab leading right now with 36% of the votes, and Dublin Mayor Melissa Hernandez in second with 16%. This is to replace Eric Swalwell, who has resigned. Continue our coverage streaming at NBCBayArea.com and wherever you stream our newscast. Welcome back to our Election Day coverage. We are following the results of some of the races, and we want to show you the latest numbers for the race for California governor. Right now, Steve Hilton, Republican Steve Hilton, in the lead with 27% of the votes, followed by Democrat Javier Becerra. We were just at his watch party in L.A. Then Democrat Tom Steyer with 20% of the votes, and Republican Chad Bianco with 11%. In fifth place, last we saw was former Congresswoman Katie Porter and San Jose Mayor Matt Manhan. And we just got a statement from former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. He is the first one to officially concede in this race for governor. He just released a statement about 10-15 minutes ago. He said, quote, "Tonight didn't turn out the way we hoped, and I offer my congratulations to the winners and offer my best wishes for the road ahead. I'm grateful beyond words to my family, my friends, organized labor, and community organizations who stood with us, our staff, and our volunteers." So again, right now, we got a statement from Antonio Villaraigosa, who just conceded in this race for California governor.
So it is still early with the results coming in now about 8:50, and I just want to remind people we're going to be here throughout the evening. So well into the night, we're going to be having results for you from the governor's race, from the various races for U.S. representatives. We're going to keep an eye on the mayor's race down in Los Angeles. That's a fascinating race. But then also there are local races, including in San Francisco, a number of different measures, 4 different measures, in fact, that the voters are voting on there. And let's see if we have any results in those races right now, or let's just bring in Chris Kimura, because I know he's got the latest numbers on his board. He always does.
I don't have numbers yet.
No numbers yet. But I mean, San Francisco actually said their results were going to come later, at the earliest 8:45.
Yeah. I literally just checked on my laptop. And I didn't see them. I'll read it again.
But that's okay. But you talk about the 4 measures, and 2 of them are kind of contradictory.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of money being spent, or was spent, because of those. Oh, it looks like we do have some numbers. Okay, so let's talk about Proposition A, Measure A. So Measure A is a $535 million bond measure that opponents of it say, well, isn't exactly what you're voting for. But proponents say it's to help San Francisco prepare for the fires that are inevitable after a major earthquake. And so what we have here now is San Francisco voters saying yes to that. It requires 2/3. And it did have more than 2/3. Okay, now we're on to Proposition B. So Proposition B is a term limits measure in San Francisco, basically a lifetime term limits measure, saying that for the Supes and for the mayor, they only get 2 4-year terms. And it looks like voters there are going to say yes. That only requires a simple majority plus 1. So what do we have? I can't see that. Forgive me. I'm getting old. I can't read very well. What percent of the vote do we have in? We don't know yet. Okay. So this is still early. So these things definitely could change, because that's actually pretty close. Okay. So now we're on to Proposition C. So as Janelle alluded to, we have C and D, and these are trying to cancel each other out. So C is actually a response to D. So what is C? C is a tax cut, essentially, for businesses, an expansion of their taxes on their gross receipts up to $7.5 million. It was $5 million. And it would also essentially freeze the CEO tax that San Francisco voters approved way back when. So right now it's looking like San Francisco voters are going to say yes to that, right? No, they're going to say no. They're going to say no to that. Okay, so forgive me. I'm having trouble reading. They're turning a monitor so I can see. Thank you very much, Aaron Zafra, behind the scenes. Okay, so what's with Measure D? So Measure D is the one which is the one that caused the response with Measure C. So D is the CEO tax. Basically asking voters, do you want to recalculate the CEO tax? So basically more companies have to send money to San Francisco City Hall. So the controller said that if this passes, that San Francisco would get somewhere on order of 250 to 350 million additional tax dollars. But right now, it looks like it's going down. So the way it worked, by the way, was that if C and D both passed tonight, the one that got more votes would actually go into effect. But looks like neither one is going to go into effect here. Interesting.
In some cases, when things are so confusing, voters just vote no. Yeah. So it looks like that's the case.
The default setting is often no on those and measures as well.
We're going to stay in San Francisco because we have results for the 11th district. This is to replace Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, Scott Wiener obviously jumping out to an early lead with 43%. Speaker Pelosi's chosen candidate, Connie Chan, in second with 28%. Troika Chakrabarti with 14%. Now, of course, 43% isn't quite up to 50% to avoid a runoff. So if those numbers held, it looked like it would be Wiener and then Chan running off in that election.
Let's bring back our political analyst, Melinda Jackson, professor of politics at San Jose State. Were you surprised by those numbers that State Senator Scott Wiener is ahead, even though he did not receive the endorsement from Speaker Emerita Pelosi? Connie Chan got that endorsement.
No, that's consistent with the polling we've been seeing. And, you know, he has had a long political career in San Francisco and now in the state Senate. So he's definitely going to make the runoff, if not make the 50%. But also, we can see that Pelosi's endorsement really matters because Connie Chan is certainly getting a strong second at this point.
How long do you think, I mean, there are so many safeguards in place for these ballots. Candace Wynn was talking, we only have about 20 seconds left. How long do you think till we'll know officially who will be the top two candidates in the race for governor?
Well, if we're lucky, we'll know tomorrow, but I wouldn't be surprised if it takes a few more days.
Right. Professor Melinda Jackson, thank you very much for your time tonight. I know we're going to lean on you the rest of the evening. We're going to take a quick break, and our streaming election coverage returns in just a minute.
Raj and Jessica will be here. Stay with us at NBC Bay Area.
Right now at 9 o'clock, election night across the Bay Area, across the state. The polls closed an hour ago. From the governor's race to local measures and congressional races, we are tracking every vote as it comes in. Thanks for joining us on this special edition of our streaming edition of NBC Bay Area News.
I'm Raj Mathai along with Jessica Aguirre. Months of campaigning have come down to this. We are getting election results into our newsroom now in real time. We're going to be with you for the next 2.5 hours on air, streaming, and online. The big race that a lot of people are talking about, in fact, everyone has their eye on here, who's going to replace Governor Newsom and lead California into a new era. The top two candidates, irrespective of their party, will move on to the November election. So this is essentially the preliminary version. The top two candidates here on June 2nd will then advance to the November general election. We have a team of reporters across the Bay Area ready to bring you the latest reaction to these results and when it comes to our state races, our congressional races, and our local measures. So we have a lot to get to. We also have our political analyst with us, Melinda Jackson, who's a poli-sci professor at San Jose State, for some more insight. Let's begin now with the governor's race and the numbers updating essentially every minute.
Yeah, we want to give you the latest election results. Right now, we're showing you the top four right now. Republican Steve Hilton leading that with 27% of the vote, followed by Democrat Xavier Becerra, Tom Steyer, who self-funded his campaign, coming in at 20%, and the other Republican candidate, Chad Bianco, coming up at 11%. Now, we do need to let you know, as you can see here, some of the other candidates. Katie Porter, 5%. Matt Mahan, who you just heard from just a short while ago, at 5%. And then Antonio Villaraigosa, the former mayor of Los Angeles, and Tony Thurmond, the superintendent of state education, at 1%. Preliminary numbers. We do need to stress that. We want to bring in our Gia Vang, who's at Tom Steyer's watch party in San Francisco. Tom Steyer urging people to be calm and to wait, because these are just the numbers that are coming in and anything can happen.
Yeah, Jessica, and you said it. These are preliminary numbers. Steyer's team actually telling us tonight they don't think that they'll have results by the end of the night. So the mood here is still celebratory. There are tons of people in this room. Let me step out of the way so you can see what's happening behind me. They say they feel confident about Steyer's chances as one of the two headed to November. We still have no idea when Steyer's set to speak on stage here. We were told he would arrive around 9:30, so that's just about now, but no timeline on when he could take that stage over here. Steyer, of course, that 68-year-old Democrat. He's the gubernatorial race's billionaire. And this is a historic campaign because Steyer has spent about $220 million of his own money on this race. That is a record. His campaign has been all about a progressive path. He's been telling voters, a lot of the voters here tonight that voted for him, that he'll make California more affordable, reduce inequality, make polluters pay, and tax billionaires with plans like closing the corporate tax loophole. He wants to use that money to pay for schools and health care. And he also wants to go to single-payer tax health care. We talked to some nurses here tonight, and they say that's the reason they voted for him. Now, he also said he's going to stop California's housing problems as well. He's pledging to build 1 million homes in California in 4 years. He's been trying to message to those working class Democrats who fear getting priced out of California. Of course, this campaign has highlighted a tension for liberal voters that they've been wrestling with. Are they okay with having a billionaire make those policies for them? So that's the question. But Tom Steyer says, hey, because I use my own money, I'm not beholden to anyone, especially those corporate interests. Now here, the latest polls have consistently shown Tom Steyer as one of the top three candidates. So his camp and the voters here who voted for him are feeling pretty confident. Back to you.
Gia Vang in San Francisco for us at the Tom Steyer election headquarter party or gathering, however we want to describe it. We'll come back to you throughout the evening, especially when Mr. Steyer takes the stage. We're talking about if you believe in the polling now. Xavier Becerra, Steve Hilton among the leading vote getters in terms of that polling. Scott Budman is with us to talk about the candidates who are down in Southern California, these gubernatorial candidates. Scott.
Yeah, Raj, this has had kind of a northern Southern California feel to it, and we have talked about the latest numbers that have been coming in, and some of them favor candidates in Northern California, talking about Xavier Becerra from Southern California, Steve Hilton, Tom Steyer up here in Northern California, and Chad Bianco in Southern California. So there's sort of a north-south balance right now, as you can see, and as we've heard all night, as the numbers have come in. We do have three top vote getters there: Katie Porter, Matt Mahan, obviously from up here in San Jose, Villaraigosa from down in Southern California, Tony Thurmond rounding out the bottom. And so we don't have anything definitive from most of the race yet. We have about a third coming in, but we do have one person who has dropped out, and that is Southern California's Antonio Villaraigosa. He has conceded, saying tonight did not turn out the way we hoped, and I offer my congratulations to the winners and offer my best wishes for the road ahead. He says he's grateful beyond words to my family, my friends, organized labor and community organizations who stood with us, our staff, and our volunteers. Antonio Villaraigosa, again from Southern California, saying to everyone who gave this campaign a piece of their hope, hold on to it. California is worth fighting for, and I'm not done fighting. So that is someone who waited about an hour since after the polls were closed to drop out. He had stayed until the end. We also heard a little earlier, speaking of Southern California, from one of the candidates, this from Sheriff Chad Bianco.
And I can't even express how appreciative I am. And the bottom line is this: no matter what the outcome is, I'm either going to be your next governor, or I'm still going to be your sheriff that is going to be.
So with that, we hear something similar to what we heard from San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan, not 100% conceding, but pretty much saying, hey, thanks for what we've done so far, and all but stepping aside for the front runners. Raj and Jess, I'll give it back to you guys.
Okay, thank you very much, Scott. We want to bring in our political analyst, Melinda Jackson, with us now. Professor Jackson, this gubernatorial race has probably been one of the most fascinating and upending races that we have seen for a very long time. In the last couple of, terms, we've had someone that's been super dynamic, like a Schwarzenegger or a Jerry Brown that was well known, or Newsom. This field was really, really open, and then we had so many twists and turns with Swalwell coming out and elevating Becerra. It's been an unusual race.
It certainly has. It's been a very different governor's race for California. Remember, we're the largest state population-wise. California's economy is the fourth largest in the world compared to other countries, right? So we're used to having these kind of big personalities as our governor, and this year was different. We had a very large field of Democrats, and there was worry early on that having the Democratic vote split among so many candidates might mean that the two Republican candidates came out as the top two, which would be, very out of line with the statewide electorate, right, which has a Democratic majority. So, and then with the Swalwell scandal and dropping out, it's just been kind of a roller coaster of a race, which is why we've seen so many Democrats waiting until the last minute to cast their ballots, because they had a lot of choices, and, they wanted to make sure that their candidate was still in the race by the time it got to Election Day.
All right, Professor Jackson, we'll get back to you in just a moment. We do also address Matt Mahan just dropping out of the race officially, so we'll ask you on that on the backside of what we're about to go to now. Professor Jackson, stand by. Let's now go to San Francisco. We want to go into Scott Wiener on the podium now, talking to his supporters in San Francisco. He's running, of course, to replace Nancy Pelosi. Let's listen in.
For real results, not just words. And a new generation of leaders, a new generation ready to take on the hardest issues facing our country. That is what San Franciscans told us tonight. And I want to say from the bottom of my heart to my neighbors, to the people of San Francisco, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so deeply appreciative. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart as well every volunteer, every supporter, every organizer, every union member, every house party host, everyone who donated, every staff member, everyone who came together, this family who came together, because my name is on the ballot, but this is about us. And I am so grateful for your support and your confidence. And in particular, I do want to thank our campaign staff. They are extraordinary. Thank you. This campaign is powered by people who believe that government can and must take action to make people's lives better and more affordable, because that is fundamentally what it's about, and that's what this movement is about. I also want to thank my opponents for participating in the democratic process. It was a spirited primary, but it's San Francisco, so we would not have it any other way. And tonight showed, and the voters have told us, that San Franciscans understand something very fundamental. That at this moment in history, with rising authoritarianism, we cannot afford politics that simply preserve the status quo. That does not work. People are hurting. People can't afford housing, certainly in San Francisco, but in so many parts of this country. People are falling through the cracks of our healthcare system and not being able to access healthcare and even having to declare bankruptcy because their kid got sick. That's what we have now in this country. Young people are losing hope. Hope that they'll ever be able to own a home. Hope that climate change, that their government will actually give a damn about climate change. Hope that their government will actually give a damn about gun violence. And hope that they will be able to form a family and bring kids into this world and have confidence that their kids are going to have better lives than they have. That's what is happening right now in this country. Working people are being squeezed because of a rigged system that is being controlled by the largest and most powerful corporations in the history of humanity. Families have to make terrible choices if someone gets sick or if they have a new child about whether to work, whether to actually have income or stay at home and care for their family. Because we don't have paid family leave in this country. We don't have a universal child care system. And those are the choices that families are making every single day in this country, and they want their government to do something about it. We have, on top of all of this, this disaster of a regime. And yes, it's Donald Trump, but it is so much deeper than Donald Trump, that has commandeered this country, that is tearing down our democracy and the rule of law, that is getting us into disastrous wars. And we have to put a stop to it and get them the hell out of office. And that's what people are demanding. But once we get them out, we can't go back to the pre-Trump status quo. That is not going to work. That is what got us into this in the first place. We have to act boldly as Democrats to actually solve these problems. The time for small thinking is over. And that is exactly what I've done. Think big and go hard. From the minute I arrived in San Francisco as a very young gay guy who came here to find my community, I dove into this community, and I have worked day and night for this community long before anyone knew who I was, long before I was running for anything. And every step of the way, I have had to fight, and we have had to fight. When I first ran for supervisor, and parallel to today, I had a whole bunch of institutional stuff against me. And we have that again today. And we did the work, and we made the case, and we won, and we're going to win this race as well.
You're listening live to Scott Wiener in San Francisco. A very successful night for him in terms of the ballot box. We'll put up the numbers here. Scott Wiener with the decisive margin right now as the early polling comes in over Connie Chan and Shoykat Chakrabarti. You can see the numbers of, actually, these are the numbers in L.A., but Scott Wiener doing very well right now and will advance to the top two in November in the race to replace Nancy Pelosi.
All right, we're showing you the numbers right now out of Los Angeles. Right now you can see the current mayor, Karen Bass, has 37% of the vote, but reality star Spencer Pratt, who has been, a force in this election so far, comes in with 30%. Karen Bass is speaking right now. Let's take you to Los Angeles.
All deserve. Los Angeles is where I was born and raised. Los Angeles is the city that I love. Los Angeles is the creative capital of the world, where we dream and we make our dreams come true, where our industry was leaving, but we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back because we understand the good jobs and the business opportunities that come from the creative industry. We're going to build a city where parents and kids do not have to navigate tents, because in the nation's second largest city, there should never be anybody that is sleeping on our streets. We are a city that can deal with this, and we have been doing it, and we are going to continue. We are a city where things have been not affordable over these last few years, but we're going to continue building the housing that we know we are needed in this city. 42,000 units are already underway, and in the next 4 years, we're going to finish those 42,000 units, because we know that that's the key to affordability. And we are a city that is unified. You just think this Saturday marks 1 year from the dark day in our city when we all had to face the raids by ICE. And they thought that they were going to divide our city. But nobody divides Angelenos, right? Because we stand
Karen
up
Bass, the mayor
for
of
each
Los
other.
Angeles, who never thought she'd find herself in this position where she'd be going into the November election against a reality star, Pratt. Spencer Pratt, you can see there behind her with 30% of the vote. Spencer Pratt has no political experience. If you remember him from the early 2000s, he was a reality star on The Hills, but he really took this storm by storm after the LA fires really used that as the issue to catapult him forward because his house burned down. We remember that during the LA fires, Karen Bass was out of the country only to return after those fires had devastated much of the Palisades and other areas of Los Angeles. And now Karen Bass is in the fight for this mayoralship herself.
This has really energized a lot of people in Southern California, not just LA, a lot of people around the country watching this LA mayoral race because of Spencer Pratt and what he said. And essentially, in terms of what Karen Bass is doing, responding to the problem of homelessness in LA. And she says, you know what, it's gotten better for 2 consecutive years, but Spencer Pratt continues to push against her. So this could be, if you would put a blessing in disguise for Karen Bass, if she looked at it that way, a silver lining, that it's forcing her to be more active. But again, these are early results right now. We're less than 90 minutes after the polls have closed down in LA. You can see Karen Bass with the lead at this point. Let's bring in our political analyst, Melinda Jackson, professor of political science at San Jose State. Let's just start with what we're seeing in LA. This has really been the talk of the nation for a lot of people because it's a sexy race down there in terms of what we're seeing in the social media campaign as well. What do you think is going to happen going into tonight and tomorrow with the vote?
Well, it's looking like it's going to be Karen Bass and Spencer Pratt. I mean, if these numbers hold up, then we'll see that runoff in November, and that's going to be a really interesting race. It really represents this, desire for change, which makes people sometimes willing to take a chance on a political outsider who hasn't held office before. But again, we've seen the pushback against that too. And we're seeing that, I think, in the governor's race with people trending toward the more experienced candidate. So it's looking like it's going to be set up as this, choice between the experienced career politician versus the outsider.
And Melinda, how much damage did Karen Bass suffer? Because she hasn't been able to shake what happened during the LA fires, and that has been the critical issue for Pratt this whole time.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. And there has been a lot of criticism, and she's going to have to probably do more to effectively answer those questions if she's going to prevail in November. So I think, those fires were devastating, absolutely devastating in that area. And so many people were personally affected or know people who were, that they really want to have some answers to what happened and what's going to be different next time.
And moving forward now with Pratt and with Karen Bass, is this vote bringing him into this, runoff in November? Is it a warning from voters in Los Angeles, or do you think they really take him seriously? Or is this a warning shot to Karen Bass for her to be more serious and to really appease the voters with what her plan is and how she's going to deliver?
Yeah, I think she has to take it seriously. I mean, it does say something that so many voters are willing to take a chance on, again, somebody who's never held political office before. And we hear this a lot from the outside candidates that I'm going to do everything different. But when you have no political experience and then you get into the office, sometimes you find out that it's very hard to do things on your own, right? So I think it's going to be an interesting campaign to watch. I think Karen Bass, again, has some natural advantages if it is a Democrat versus a Republican in November. Obviously, she'll have the advantage as a Democrat, but she's going to have to work for it, and I think she should take the challenge seriously.
It's going to be a serious few months down there in LA, and we'll all be watching it across California, I'm sure. Thank you, Melinda. We'll get back to you in a moment. Let's come back here to the Bay Area now. A really interesting race, what's happening in the East Bay and Alameda County in terms of the district attorney's race. Here are the early numbers again, and keep in mind, we're still 90 minutes, haven't even reached 90 minutes as the polls have closed. But Ursula Dixon right now, she is in the lead over Pamela Price. And this is interesting because Pamela Price was ousted. She wants her job back. Let's bring in NBC's Valina Jones, who's tracking this DA's race in Alameda County. Valina.
Right, Raj, as you mentioned, DA Ursula Jones Dixon took over that position back in February of 2025 after Pamela Price was ousted. I have the DA right here. We're seeing these initial results come in. How are you feeling right now?
I mean, I feel encouraged. My expectation is that the voters did not make a mistake the first time and their voice will be heard again. But I'm looking forward to seeing the end of all of these ballots and what the final result is.
I know when you were making your speech, you were talking about how this is about victims' rights and really advocating for them. What are you hoping to do if those numbers hold and you do win this election?
I mean, I think the best piece of the job that we have is to encourage victims to come forward and to make them feel comfortable when they do, that we're going to deliver for them. And so that is really the message. And sometimes it's about being a verb, right? It's not what you say, it's what you do. And that's what we're doing as we speak. We want to continue to do that and to make sure that people know that we're doing that on behalf of the community.
Obviously, this is a special circumstance. You took over someone's term. You hope to continue that term. What do you hope the impact will be, and what do you think the voters are saying in this moment as well?
Again, my expectation is the voters are saying that the recall was not a mistake. They will be heard again, just like victims will be heard again. And so it's my job to usher those victims' voices in. It's the voters' job to issue, again, another mandate about how they felt about the prior administration and the direction they want to take now.
And I know when I was talking to you earlier, you said there was a lot of work that you did when you came into this office. You're hoping to continue that work as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm here until 2028. My expectation is I'll be here another 4 years after that. I'm not going anywhere. I'm running again. And so I look forward to creating the stability in the office so that we can continue to do the work on behalf of victims.
Thank you so much, DA. Raj, sending it back to you in the studio again. You heard just from DA Ursula Jones Dixon. As you mentioned, those numbers are early on, but people here are very excited to see those numbers. Talking to a lot of people here in the crowd, they hope that these numbers hold, and they're really advocating for victims' rights issues as well. We are hoping to also hear from the former DA, Pamela Price, as the evening continues on.
Yeah, that just adds so much drama that Pamela Price wants that job back, and it appears with these early numbers that Ursula Jones Dixon and Pamela Price will both advance to the November general election.
Or we'll have to see if Ursula Dixon gets a full number that she wouldn't have to go with Price. But we should go over, Ursula Dixon went into this office with a lot of collaboration, a lot of support from the beginning. She took over in February of 25 after Pamela Price was ousted from office. So she has really made that office with very much of she's got a lot of the prosecutors in her office that are really fully backing her.
Let's go back to San Francisco now. Listen in, gubernatorial candidate Tom Steyer, the billionaire philanthropist, now speaking to his supporters in San Francisco at the Regency Ballroom. Let's listen in to see what he has to say at this moment. Okay. Oh, go ahead, Jessica.
No, I'm just saying we can't hear him.
There are some audio issues.
We're having some technical issues right now.
We will work out what's happening with the Steyer campaign. But he just took the stage about a minute or two ago. And right now, in the early polls, we'll put up some numbers. He is doing well in these early returns. And I think we did get the audio back from his
anything
campaign.
Is
Let's
lower
listen
than
in.
ever. Californians are being priced out of their homes every single day. While it happens, we see billionaires do whatever they have to get whatever they can out of the system, and then do everything they can to hoard their wealth and avoid paying taxes. And we see corporations continue to rig the system for themselves, raising your prices to juice their profits. Screw that. California deserves better. Working people deserve better. Democracy matters. Justice matters. The truth matters. Anyone who says otherwise is invested in a system rigged against you. Here's the truth. For every bill that's too high, there's a special interest profiting off keeping it there. They want you to believe that's inevitable, that it's just how the market works. But that's bullshit. We don't have to accept this. This campaign has been about proving that. My vision for California is based on a simple idea. The well-being of the most vulnerable shouldn't depend on corporations and billionaires choosing to do the right thing. We should have a system based on fairness, not on asking for fairness, where the most privileged pay their fair share not by charity, but by law. A system that reminds them of what I've been saying since the very beginning of this campaign. You didn't do it all yourselves. The soon-to-be tech trillionaires built their wealth here because California enabled them to. Because ordinary Californians worked hard and sacrificed day after day, year after year, to create the system where those billionaires could realize the dreams they came to this state to pursue. The California I believe in is a California where recognizing that hard work and honoring that sacrifice is fundamental to assigning credit and to designing our society. This race, more than any other in recent memory, laid bare the basic operating principle of American politics, a very uncomfortable truth. Money talks. In this race, we saw what corporate money tends to ask for: higher rents, lower wages, permission to pollute, to price gouge, and to treat workers as disposable. And in this race, we saw the way that money from some of the wealthiest people and corporations in the history of the world mobilized when I said I'd tax it fairly. We saw a direct causal relationship between my plans for change and the $55 million of corporate money that flooded in to stop me. Single-payer healthcare? Here come the insurance companies. Clean energy? Here comes Chevron. Taxing AI? What about Meta? Lowering electric bills? Hello, PG&E. To quote FDR, never before in all our history have these forces been so united against one candidate as they stand today. They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred. But here's the thing. Their spending wasn't personal. It wasn't about who I am. It was about what the corporations believed I could do. For the corporations, elections are always about policy. For the corporations, politics isn't about parties, it's about profits. They do not think in red and blue teams. They think in red and black ink. They think in dollar signs and balance sheets. Their priorities and decisions have proved soulless. They're totally unconcerned with the well-being of working people, with the health of our democracy, with the very concept of justice. They will support who and whatever they have to in order to usher in a future that is beneficial to their bottom lines. It's why they uniformly back Trump. It's why they uniformly oppose progressives, and none of that was unique to this race. Here they were just especially brazen, because here they were especially scared. The dollar amounts are different, but in elections everywhere, the principle is the same. You want to fight for working people at the expense of corporate profits? Watch corporations do everything in their power to stop you. Usually they try harder to hide what they're doing, and usually they're confident that if they spend enough, whoever's threatening their profits will be forced to back down and go away. This is how working people have been priced out of our politics. This is how the system protects itself. And I'll be the first to say it, that isn't how the system should work. You shouldn't have to be a billionaire to run on single payer. or to challenge monopolies, or to call out a corrupt system when you see it. But the system depends on its ability to crush anyone who tries. And I know that there are many, many people, activists and organizers and ordinary working people who are out there today and who have been out there for decades, saying and doing all of these things brilliantly and fearlessly. Those are the people I'm in this race for. Those are the people I'm in this race with. The corporate interests came at us with everything they had, and we didn't back down. We were absolutely uncompromising in our values and our vision for California, and together we've scared the hell out of the corporate interests who are used to getting it their own way. We exposed the fact that their power depends on a system that is fundamentally corrupt. We showed with clarity and conviction that we do not have to accept the system they've built as inevitable. We proved something FDR said almost a century ago, that government by organized money is just as dangerous as government by organized mob. And we showed that a better California is possible, and that we know what it looks like, and we know how we'll get there together, day by day, vote by vote. Because together, all of us in this room believe in a not so radical idea: California can work for working people. Because we believe in a California where we have single-payer health care. A California where we have clean air to breathe and water to drink. A California where young people can imagine a future in the place they grew up. A California where corporations and billionaires who got rich here and then pulled the ladder up behind them do pay their fair share and are actually proud of their contribution to the 21st century society. That's us, that the rest of the world admires. That's what we're fighting for together. And that's what the corporations are hell-bent on stopping, because they know what we know. If we win, corporations lose. I've always been an optimist, and tonight I remain an optimist. None of this is far off. These dreams are not too big. The better California we've been fighting for is possible, and it's coming. I know that because I know Californians. I spent the last 6 months traveling up and down the state, talking to people in the Bay, in LA, in the Inland Empire, people in Santa Rosa and Riverside, in San Diego and San Jose, people in communities along the coast and in the valley and in the foothills. And everywhere I went, I heard the same thing. People are fed up. They know what's happening. They see it with their own eyes. They know who the villains are. They know they deserve better. And they're willing to fight with everything they have to win it. It will be hard work. It is hard work. But we're here tonight because it's happening, because we're making it happen. I've never felt more confident that California is the greatest place in the world and that Californians are the greatest people in the world. It has been the honor of my life to have the very best of them by my side. To my family, thank you for everything. None of this would be possible without your love and support. To my team, thank you for your hard work every single day of this campaign. To the people of California, I say it all the time, there are no people like Californians. You are the best of the best. Thank you for the doors you knocked, the calls you made, the tweets you posted. Thank you for showing up to our town halls, for asking tough questions, for believing in a better California, and working so hard to bring people there with you. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. We've done the hard work and we did it together. Together we put the corporations on notice. Together we demanded more and better for the best state of them all. And now we just have to be patient. Thank you very much.
Listening to gubernatorial candidate Tom Steyer, an unfiltered Tom Steyer, in what sounds, it appears to be perhaps a concession speech at this point, but it's not clear. That is his wife right there with him. Steyer really indicating and alluding very directly that corporate interests that backed both Becerra and Hilton may be to blame for the numbers that we're seeing at this juncture with him, where he seems to be trailing behind Becerra and Steve Hilton at this point, being very clear about the money poured in by corporations like Chevron to support Becerra and a lot of the tech money that flowed in that direction as well, including to Hilton.
He seemed very confident, like this race is not over, but the numbers do suggest. But right now, we were expecting that Steve Hilton would lead the pack early on with the Republican votes coming in from days and even weeks ago. Tom Steyer, though, champions himself as the people's candidate, the working class candidate. But is there enough votes there from the working class and everywhere else in California to get him into the top two? As of right now, it does not appear to be, but he was very confident on the stage in San Francisco. From the gubernatorial race, let's now go to Matt Mahan, who's not, there he is actually, at 5%. Mayor Mahan in San Jose will be going back to being the mayor of the biggest city in the Bay Area because he has officially conceded out of this governor's race. With that, let's bring in NBC's Damian Trujillo, who joins us at Matt Mahan's election watch party in San Jose. It sounds loud. What's happening there, Damian?
Well, the mayor is still here an hour after that concession speech, Raj, and it was a concession speech, but I'll tell you what, I've never heard or seen a more excited concession speech by a candidate who has just lost the race. Matt Mahan is excited, he says, about what the future beholds for him and for the state of California. He talked a lot still about the fact that he has a #1 job in the entire world, being the mayor of San Jose. But he mentioned California over and over and over again. So you get a sense that he is really not done with this, even though this was a concession speech, that it's not over. We asked him directly if we will see Matt Mahan 2030, and he says he's not ready for that right now, to talk about that right now. He wants to talk about moving the city of San Jose forward as he has been. We try to press him. Here's what he said earlier when we try to press him on that.
I am so proud that we ran a campaign focused on results, not empty rhetoric or impossible promises. I am, and Luke, please cover your ears, a get-done Democrat.
Live picture of Matt Mahan right now, still talking to many of his supporters. In that part of the concession speech, she did mention that it's time to get back to work, that we'll see you back here again bright and early tomorrow and start working for California. So a lot of mentions of the states. I asked him also who he would support of the top 3 contenders right now, Hilton, Becerra, and Steyer. He said he'll learn more about that tomorrow. He's not ready to decide just yet. Back to you.
Okay, Damian Trujillo with Mayor Matt Mahan right behind him, about 15 feet behind him. He did concede, but yes, if you watch that speech in length or in full, it was a positive tone, almost like he's setting himself up for 2030 or the next stage of his political career, which could be Congress or the gubernatorial
as a senator
House.
or something like that. Definitely sounded like he was teeing up whatever comes next, which really was expected from a lot of the people, that this is more of a toe dipping to see what kind of traction he could get and what kind of a statewide name that he could build for himself.
And it's interesting because Silicon Valley tech people donated so much to his campaign. So it could be indicative also is, does the tech vote, does the tech support mean as much as many of us think it means? And perhaps it didn't, because Javier Becerra and Steve Hilton weren't part of that, what you'd call the tech vote, yet they are the leaders at this point. No word yet from Katie Porter, but you see her numbers there. Antonio Villaraigosa has conceded, so officially Mahan and Villaraigosa have conceded. We haven't heard yet from Katie Porter or Tony Thurmond.
Well, Mahan's certainly the most moderate of all of the candidates there, certainly down the middle. All righty, so
we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Good evening from our NBC Bay Area studios. We have another election update. The numbers are coming in, and there is a lot of movement in the governor's race.
Here's where things stand right now. The top two contenders right now, Steve Hilton, the Republican, at 27% of the vote, 26% for Javier Becerra. Coming in third so far is Tom Steyer. The two top winners here move on to the November ballot. So far, we've had concessions from San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan and LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa.
Welcome back to our live streaming coverage of this election on June 2nd here in the Bay Area and across California. I'm Raj Mathai along with Jessica Aguirre. We're talking about, let's start with the East Bay in the congressional race, District 14. This is to replace Eric Swalwell. Right now, the numbers are in at this point. We are just about a little more than 2 hours or 90 minutes, excuse me, since the polls have closed. You see Aisha Wahab right now with the lead over Melissa Hernandez. Wahab is state senator, also the Hayward City Council person, and right now she's aiming to replace Eric Swalwell, who had to resign.
Melissa Hernandez is a former mayor of Dublin and currently the president of the board of directors, a first in both of those as being the first Latina women to have both of those posts. Now, to tell you about District 14, it covers Livermore, Pleasanton, sections of Fremont, Castro Valley, Union City. So it's a big swath. There are two elections right now with District 14. The one that we're covering this evening is to replace Eric Swalwell, who was running for governor, but then dropped out because of that scandal, sex scandal that he had been involved in, allegedly. And then there's a second vote. Their second race will happen June 16th that both of these women are also running in. That would be to complete his term, what ends at the end of this year. Let's bring in our Pete Serratos, who's tracking the race. Vacant seat from a very big turn of events here with this Eric Swalwell leaving the governor's race and also vacating this House seat altogether.
Yeah, that's right. And the polls are closed, of course, at this moment, but voters here in Congressional District 14 will be asked to vote again in a couple of weeks to fill that vacated seat of former Congressman Eric Swalwell. Now, of course, Swalwell resigned in April amid those sexual assault allegations, which opened up the special election for June 16th to fill his vacated seat through the end of the year. But tonight, voters are casting ballots in the primary, with the top two vote getters moving on to the general election in November. Now, we did get a chance to talk to voters, and here's what they're saying about voting in this special election 2 weeks from now.
I don't like it. I think our funds can be used more efficiently, but sometimes there is this established bureaucracy that needs to be followed. So that's kind of my perspective.
It was confusing to drop it off as well. So I had to just, do a little more reading, and I just asked them inside if I could drop off both of the ballots today instead of dropping off the second one in 2 weeks. And so they said yes.
Cleanly marked on the envelope on the date when it needs to be turned in. Didn't need to vote for the full right now. vote who we want to do, and it's perfect. Super easy.
They're going to have one interim, and then they're going to have somebody that it's only for a short period, and the other one comes in. I mean, it's pretty, straightforward. So, I mean, it makes sense.
So again, the top 2 vote getters tonight will face off in the general election in November, and then the winner of that June 16th special election will serve out the remainder of Swalwell's term. We'll send it back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Pete. And we should note that Swalwell was very popular in this District 14. He had a lot of support, and even going into the governor's race, he was considered one of the front runners initially before those sexual, allegations surfaced.
It was a major turn of events in the last several months, what's happening in the East Bay, and of course, it all started with Eric Swalwell. So we're voting, a lot of people are. So what happens after that vote, after you drop it off in the ballot box? What happens behind the scenes? Actually, it's very active. And so often now in these elections, we talk about election security. Let's bring in NBC's Candace Nguyen, who joins us at the registrar's office in Santa Clara County to take us behind the scenes. Candace.
Yeah, we have been behind the scenes in the building of looking at those ballots being counted, but then all the action not long ago came in front of the office here where the ballots have been coming in from different voting centers from around the county. I just got word a short while ago that the last 12 couriers picking up ballots and those digital cartridges from the polling places, they have all left those centers. They have picked up the bags. They're in transit. So things will be gearing up, but also wrapping up soon. And quickly here, I want to bring in Andre De Ocampo with the Registrar of Voters office. So all 12 of those couriers, they're on their way, dropping off those ballots. These are the last ballots, and that will be tallied. What is this telling you right now in terms of where we are in this cycle?
So right now we're going to get our results cartridges back, and once we get those back, that's the report that we'll post for tonight for our initial results. Throughout the next week, we'll be processing not only the vote-by-mail ballots that we received today, but also the ones that were postmarked by Election Day from the post office, as well as any other locations that have lingering ballots for other counties.
So we are expected to see some we've already seen some reports coming in. I'm seeing the printed results in the media room right now. We also will get some initial final results by midnight, so all of those will be counted in tonight's numbers, but also what's pending tomorrow.
So pending tomorrow is most of our vote-by-mail ballots that have been returned to us through any of the post offices or any of the other locations. Sometimes other counties receive our ballots and they'll send it to us during that final window. So it's us making sure that every single ballot that was sent to Santa Clara County on time, that we're able to count it and put it into our tallies.
And last quick question, has it been pretty smooth? I've been watching it, but you're really here every single year. Has today been pretty smooth? Have there been any hiccups?
Very smooth for us here today. So everything today very little lower in turnout than we had maybe hoped for from the election, but we're right in that window that we'd hoped for 35-45% voter turnout. So I think we're on that lower end, but we're hoping still that we can hit that number, but very smooth for us here today.
Thank you so much, Andre, from the Registrar of Voters office. So we saw you when there was the calm of the storm, then we felt the storm of all those ballots coming in, and now we're getting the last dozen couriers coming in, dropping off those ballots, and will be tallied later tonight. So these last couple of hours here at the Registrar of Voters office, definitely getting very busy. Back to you in the studio.
Okay, Candace Nguyen for us in the South Bay at the Registrar's office, watching how this vote goes. And it's not just going to be a couple hours. We're going to go into tomorrow. We might not know the results for a lot of these races, including the governor's race, until tomorrow or perhaps even the next day.
Yes, and a lot that has to do with the propositions as well. In fact, we want to talk about those, the ones out of San Francisco. 4 major propositions out on the ballot tonight. Chris Kimura joins us now to kind of run through those with us.
Yeah, hi there. We'll do them alphabetically. How about that? Although C and D are the ones that are really causing all the headlines. Okay, so let's start with A. A is the one that's a $535 million bond for firefighting, especially after an earthquake. So currently we have 147 of 514 precincts where people are doing in-person voting counted so far. So some of this could change, but this one's looking like voters are saying yes to this bond for firefighting. Opponents, by the way, did say that not all the money is actually going to go to firefighting. Our Jackson Vanderbecken reported that a lot of the money, like $200 million, will go to other places. Nonetheless, voters seem to be okay with that tonight, and 77% currently saying yes. Okay, let's move on to Measure B. Measure B is a lifetime term limit for, that's C and D, I skipped one, lifetime term limit for the mayor and the soups. And so it's looking right now like voters are saying, yeah, we're good with that. 55-45. And again, we have 147 of 514 precincts. Okay, let's get to the juicy stuff. Those would be measures C and D. These are the two that we're duking it out. C was meant to kind of defeat D. Lots of money spent on both of these, and it looks like right now neither of them is going to pass, so it might be a little too close to call with one of them. Again, we have only 147 of those 514 precincts. So this is C. This is the one that would have offered smaller businesses a bit of a tax break and would have capped the overpaid CEO tax that San Francisco had. That was sort of a response to D, and D is also looking like it's not going to pass either. Interesting. About $10 million, though, spent on both of those things. $10 million to get essentially nowhere. But we'll continue to watch the numbers to see if something's going to happen with C and D.
Yeah, Chris, Measure D was kind of reminiscent on a smaller version of like the billionaires tax that we're talking about statewide and around the country. Mayor Lurie, just to correct me if I'm wrong, was against Measure D, correct?
Yeah, and so what's interesting, if you go into the records and you look at who is putting their money behind these things, it's a kind of a who's who of people who have money around our area, people you might know, and also companies you might know who were essentially saying, let's go ahead and support C so we can kill D. And then there were unions and whatnot who were supporting D. But again, it's looking like right now neither C nor D will pass. But again, it's still somewhat early. Still got a lot of precincts in San Francisco, a lot of votes to count.
Yeah, among those donors for Measure C were Sergey Brin and some other high-profile tech folks too. And Measure D was the one packed by the labor unions who wanted to have that.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
And it would have added like $250 million to San Francisco's coffers.
We'll get back to you throughout the evening as well. Let's bring in Garvin Thomas now. We're talking about a mayoral race that's not around the Bay Area, but this is something that a lot of people are talking about across the state and even across the country. Garvin Thomas is here to talk about what's happening with Karen Bass and Spencer Pratt. What are the returns right now, almost 2 hours after the polls close?
Roger, I was thinking the exact same thing. All these races we're talking about tonight have some direct connection to our viewers and where they live. And this is the one race that really doesn't. It's the mayor of Los Angeles, hundreds of miles away, no jurisdiction here, but it is such a fascinating race. The entire nation is paying attention. You're looking at it right now. These are the results in so far. Karen Bass, she is the incumbent mayor with 37% of the vote. And I bet if you asked her about a year and a half ago, she never thought she would be in a fight like this, all because of the man in the middle. His name is Spencer Pratt. He's got 30% of the vote right now. He was a reality star about 25 years ago, but a year ago, his house burned down in the Palisades fire. Now, he personally blames Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom for negligence he says led to the disaster. Well, that got him so upset he decided to run for mayor. And then it wasn't just the issue on the fires. Then he picked up on discontent among Angelenos, among homelessness and street crime and quality of life issues. He says he became the look around candidate. His platform was just look around, and if you don't like what you see, blame Mayor Bass and vote for me. Now, there is one other there are 14 people running for mayor of Los Angeles. That's a big field. But there were 3 that went into tonight with a legitimate shot. The third one was Nithya Raman. She's a city council member. Now, she is not, looking at the early results, it doesn't look like she's going to make the runoff. So the runoff looks like it's going to be Karen Bass and Spencer Pratt come November time. And this is going to be a fascinating race. Not just because the contrast in visions, but the contrast in styles. Karen Bass is a career politician. She has, of course, been for the last 3 years the mayor of Los Angeles. She was congresswoman. She was the state assembly speaker. So she has spent a lifetime in politics, and Spencer Pratt's been a lifetime on TV and not in politics. And his style is very different. He really made a name for himself early in this campaign when his very first ad featured him standing outside a trailer home parked on what was his property in the Palisades, saying this is where I live, and then actually going to Karen Bass's home and showing what that looked like and making that comparison right there. So what Karen Bass is, so it's interesting, she's running on her record, and really homelessness and crime have become the issues in this campaign. And what Mayor Bass is saying is actually homelessness and crime have gone down in the city the last couple of years. And she's saying, hey, put me back in office, continue what I'm doing. And obviously Spencer Pratt saying something very different. So we got certainly an exciting, probably a very interesting next 6 months ahead as these two go head to head in the November election. Not just, a real contrast in styles.
published reports, though, saying that Spencer Pratt was actually staying at the Beverly Hills Hilton instead of in his trailer. So we'll see about that.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.
We're going to wait till every ballot is counted. We're going to give democracy a time to work, and we know we finished really strong.
Right now at 10 o'clock, still too close to call. The hotly contested race for the California governor's seat still up in the air. We have the latest results. At least two candidates, though, have already conceded.
While this campaign for governor ends tonight, our mission has only just begun.
That was San Jose's mayor, Matt Mahan, who conceded. Also, Antonio Villaraigosa, the former L.A. mayor, has conceded. Polls closed a couple hours ago. All those ballots still need to be counted. We have live team coverage across the state with results from all these high-profile races, from the governor's race to Speaker Emeritus Pelosi's seat and the L.A. mayor's race as well.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for joining us on this busy election night. I'm Jessica Aguirre.
And I'm Raj Mathai. Not just California, people around the country watching what we're doing tonight, most notably that governor's race. Who's going to replace Gavin Newsom? A lot of movement at this hour. Numbers continue to come in. Let's take a look at the latest numbers now. Again, this is the governor's race. Early indications right now kind of suggesting what the polling has been showing us for the last few weeks. Steve Hilton, the Republican, right now leading by a small percentage over Javier Becerra, the Democrat. And you see Tom Steyer there at 20% and Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco at 11%. Keep in mind now the top two advance. And here are kind of the bottom four. You see Katie Porter, Matt Mahan, the San Jose mayor, Antonio Villaraigosa. They have officially conceded, and Tony Thurmond there. But the top two advance. Let's bring in NBC's Scott Budman, who's been watching these numbers closely. And we should say it's still early on in the night, Scott. So if we see Steve Hilton as the #1 vote getter right now. That might not be the same result as we see tomorrow morning.
Right, and one thing to keep in mind, Jessica and Raj, is it's the top 2 that go on to November and the general election. But so far tonight, as you mentioned, 2 candidates within the last hour or so have dropped out of the race. That already something of a foregone conclusion because they've been so far back since the numbers started to come in. First, from San Jose, Mayor Matt Mahan telling his supporters he's officially out after his run for governor. Here's what he said.
While this campaign for governor ends tonight, which Nina and Luke are frankly kind of happy about, our mission has only just begun.
Yeah, that's Mayor Mahan with his kids up on stage with him in Northern California. We also heard from one of the Southern California candidates, Antonio Villaraigosa, announcing earlier that he too is dropping out. Jessica and Raj, as you pointed out a bit earlier, the speeches made within the last hour from both Tom Steyer and Chad Bianco, not officially speeches of resignation, but something like it. We will continue, as you said, to keep you posted throughout the night as the numbers come in. Back to you.
Thank you, Scott. We're just getting late word right now that Katie Porter just has conceded as well. We're going to try to turn that video around and get more information for you on that. But we're hearing that would mean that 3 candidates have officially now conceded: Mahan, Villaraigosa, and Porter. NBC Berry's Gia Vang is in San Francisco at Tom Steyer's watch party. And Gia, what we heard Tom Steyer say just a short time ago when he took the podium, it really sounded almost like a concession speech, but it also sounded very much like a fiery speech about how corporate money really upended this race, with that money going to Becerra and to Hilton.
Yeah, Jessica, I mean, it was really Tom Steyer and his campaign against the corporations. But, you know, one of the things that he did say first when he came out was that, hey, look, we are taking some time to see how this pans out tonight, but we know that we finished strong. He came out on stage, he was with his wife and his family. Take a look, we have that video for you. And it was to roaring applause here at the Regency Ballroom in San Francisco, where the billionaire Democrat candidate lives. Now, his speech was his campaign against the corporations. As he talked about billionaires and corporations hoarding wealth, his progressive message has been his campaign, and his campaign has been for the working people who fear getting priced out of California. And in fact, Jessica and Raj, welcomed the hatred of corporations, he said, spending against his campaign. Take a listen to some of what he had to say.
Thank you for showing up to our town halls, for asking tough questions, for believing in a better California, and working so hard to bring people there with you. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. We've done the hard work and we did it together. Together we put the corporations on notice. Together we demanded more and better for the best state of them all. And now we just have to be patient.
And that from the billionaire himself, which some voters, according to political experts, had to contend with. Do they trust a billionaire creating these policies if he is to become governor? So that was the message from Tom Steyer here tonight. We'll have much more coming up later on for you guys. Back to you in the studio.
Yeah, the anti-billionaire.
Gia, thank you. Let's bring in our political analyst, Melinda Jackson, a poli-sci professor at San Jose State. Okay, Melinda, here we go. We have the early results right now. Tom Steyer, was it something that he still feels that he's in this race? Because it's certainly not over.
It's not over, and we did see a lot of Democrats holding on to their ballots until the last minute and then casting their votes today. So, you know, we could still see some shifts, but it is looking like those top 2 candidates, Hilton and Becerra, are really kind of getting the momentum now. So it would be a little bit harder for Tom Steyer to catch up as more of the vote comes in if we don't start to see some real shifts. But that could still happen because, again, the demographics are different between the voters who cast their votes early and the folks who wait until the last minute and turn out on election day.
Melinda, let me ask you that, because we saw Steyer unplugged, and that's the way he always has been through this race. You know, very confrontational, very saying he was working for the working people. But if these numbers hold, it seems that people have voted for more of an establishment candidate instead of a progressive that was willing to buck up against the president, buck up against the tech and all the money by the billionaires. Why would we have that shift?
Well, it is interesting because Becerra did not start out as a front runner in this race, and he really kind of came from behind and benefited after Swalwell dropped out. So he had this late surge, but then when voters started giving him a closer look, they were like, well, yeah, this guy has a lot of experience at the state level. He's held statewide office as the Attorney General. So even, you know, and he's really been emphasizing all of the lawsuits he brought against the Trump administration, for example. So I think there was a lot for California voters to like about Becerra once they really started tuning into this race, because a lot of people weren't paying attention in the earlier months of this year.
All right, Melinda, thank you. Speaking of who Californian voters like right now, it's Steve Hilton. As of this hour, 2 hours after the polls closed, he is the leading vote getter as of right now. Let's listen in. Steve Hilton headquarters. Let's listen to what he has to say.
The number is rising. Here's what I want to say as someone who is a new American citizen. So proud to be an American. So proud to be a Californian. What an incredible honor. The first time I've run for office, over 1 million people and rising, voting for me to take this incredible state in a new direction. And I know that some of you may be watching and saying, who is this guy with a funny accent? Thinks he can be governor of California. Well, you know, there was actually an immigrant who was governor of California not that long ago. Not that long ago. And I remember when I became an American citizen, that certain governor you may remember, he said, congratulations, he made a very nice video. He said, but Steve, you got to get the wrong jacket. You got the wrong jacket. And I made a pledge that day, that one day I would get the jacket that Arnold told me to get on my road to being governor of California. And here it is. I am a proud American. Of rebels believing that this state could be better than it is today. We're already the best place in the world, no question about that. There's nowhere better than California. But we all know that this state has gone off track and we need to get it back on track. And I've seen the struggle that Californians are facing today. That is the word, and it's a very sad thing to say about our beautiful state. And I've been on the road and doing hundreds of events and the town halls and all the people that come, and I see it in your eyes, the struggle of running a small business, the struggle for working people in California. Young people who don't see their future in California anymore, who think that they have to move to another state to have that dream of owning their own home that we used to offer better than anywhere else in the world. That's what we need to get back for California. The belief that we can offer that. And so to every young person watching in California, whether you voted for me or not tonight, I just want you to know that I see you. I believe in you. I know that you can do it. I know that we can do it. We can make California a place where when you work hard, it's not just a struggle. That's why my plan is so simple and practical. Not ideological. We've had enough ideology in California, haven't we? It's time. It's time for positive, practical things. I'm fighting for working people in California so that you can keep more of what you earn. The best way to put money in people's pockets is to take less out of it in the first place. And that's what I'll do as your governor. Your first $100 grand tax-free. simple, practical things to make life less of a struggle for working people and for small businesses. Most of my career has been in business. I've run small businesses, including restaurants. That is a tough business, by the way. And here's how we're going to help small business in California. Number one, simple, practical things. $800 every business has to pay to the government just for existing. That's crazy. We're going to get rid of that. We're going to help small business. Working people in California paying the highest gas prices in the country. That's insane when we have abundant oil reserves right here in California. As long as we are using oil and gas in California, let's use California oil and gas. That's the plan. And that way, we can get our gas prices down. $3 gas. That's the plan. Electric bills, the highest in the country, double the national average. We can have a sensible energy policy, cut your electric bills in half. This is the kind of thing that we need to make our state Cal-affordable. Cal-affordable. So we restore that basic dream, a good job where you make enough to raise your family in a home of your own, in a safe neighborhood with a good school so your kids can have a better life. That's the plan. That's what I'm fighting for every working person, every small business, every young person in California that wants to stay in this state. What have we done in California, the greatest place on earth, that people are leaving our state? For hundreds of years, people have come to California to follow their dreams. But now they're leaving. Well, that's what we're going to turn around. We are going to make California the best place in the world to start and run a business, to start and raise a family. This is the place. This is the place.
A lot of cheers for Steve Hilton speaking to his supporters down in Huntington Beach in Southern California. Could he be our next governor of California? He might be. Right now, he's leading in terms of the vote at this hour. The top two advance. We're back in a moment.
I need my phone.
Welcome back to our live coverage of this election night, the primary election night across the Bay Area and the state. One of the high-profile races, not just the governor's race, but also who's going to replace Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. This is District 11 in San Francisco, and right now the early numbers, Scott Wiener by a large margin, 43%, Connie Chan at 28%, and Shoykat Chakrabarti at 14%. All Democrats, but right now San Francisco voters leaning towards Scott Wiener. It appears appears that Weiner and Connie Chan will advance to the top 2 in November.
All right, we want to bring in Marianne Favreau, who is at San Francisco Supervisor Connie Chan's election night party in San Francisco. And we should note that Chan did get the endorsement of Nancy Pelosi, and yet we see Scott Weiner pulling out ahead.
Yes, he is pulling out ahead. But just a few minutes ago here at this election party, they did read the results, the latest results showing that Connie Chan is in second place. And this crowd erupted with cheers. Now you can see that some of her supporters are talking about other issues and election results, and the banner here that says "People over Profits." Working families have supported Connie Chan, and she's expected to arrive here any minute and speak. But they're very hopeful that she will make it to the November ballot. Now, as you mentioned, just 2 weeks ago, Nancy Pelosi, who has been in Congress for nearly 40 years, endorsed her to take over her 11th district congressional seat. And that was a big boost to Connie Chan. So supporters here are really hoping that that will be enough to make sure that she makes it to the November ballot.
Okay, Marianne, thank you. We'll come back to you as we progress and do our coverage until the 11:30 hour. Right now, we're going to take a look down in Los Angeles. We're expecting Javier Becerra to take the stage at any moment. Right now, you are looking at his wife. Again, Javier Becerra used to work in the Biden administration, and now from the early returns, he and Steve Hilton are the top 2 vote getters. So if that holds, it would be Becerra and Steve Hilton who advance to the November general election. Again, this is the race for California's governor.
Yeah, and Becerra really did do a come from behind, because originally he was not polling very high in the numbers. Extensive, Democratic experience as Attorney General, also, as you mentioned, in the Biden White House. But it really was after Eric Swalwell dropped out of the governor's race that we saw Becerra's numbers begin to decline. You see the numbers right there. Steve Hilton with 27%, Becerra trailing right behind with just 1% less, 26%, and then Tom Steyer, who we've been hearing about all evening and from, at 20%. So again, Javier Becerra really gaining in the polls, and it looks like he will be advancing to the November election.
What's interesting, just a couple days ago, the latest poll in terms of the big poll that came out actually showed Tom Steyer surging, and it was a Becerra-Steyer possible runoff for November. But then as we're seeing tonight, at least the early indications, it looks like a Hilton-Becerra runoff come November. So again, you're looking live down in Los Angeles at the headquarters, the political headquarters for Javier Becerra, his wife on the stage introducing her husband, a career politician, long time. I believe Javier Becerra also went to Stanford, so certainly Bay Area roots here, and we're waiting for him to take the stage. It'll be interesting how he positions his message now moving forward in these next 5 months, because if he's taking on Steve Hilton, it'll be a classic Democrat-Republican battle. Steve Hilton endorsed by President Trump as well.
Okay, let's talk about the District 14 District 14, which was vacated when Eric Swalwell resigned. Right now, leading there is Aisha Wahab, who's state senator, with 35% of the vote, and Melissa Hernandez with 16% of the vote. Melissa Hernandez, former Dublin mayor, also the current president of the BART Board of Directors, both vying. It looks like they'll be the two that'll be moving forward. Let's talk to Pete Serratos, who's out there in Pleasanton, which is part of District 14, which spans from Livermore and Pleasanton into Castro Valley and parts of Fremont and Union City.
Let's continue to go over some election results here in terms of the other races for Congress. So you see here what's happening in terms of Eric Swalwell's seat. And here is what's happening now in District 17. Ro Khanna by a wide margin here. He's going to get more than 50% of the vote. So Ro Khanna, the projected winner here, District 17 over Ritesh Tandon. Also now in the South Bay, let's move on. We're talking about the district attorney, the race in the South Bay for the DA seat. And here we go. Jeff Rosen, the incumbent, by a wide margin there at 60% of the vote. That's the longtime DA in the South Bay. San Jose City Council, a lot of open seats here. One we'll focus on is District 9. This is the seat formerly held by Vice Mayor Pam Foley, who is stepping down due to term limits. District 9 among the many open seats and open races now for San Jose's City Council. And right now, Jenny Altwer is the leading vote getter.
Okay, a lot of votes still being counted at this hour. They will be throughout the evening and maybe even tomorrow in the coming days. Our Candace Wynn is at the Santa Clara County Registrar's office for us.
Yeah, that's right, Jess. The very last paper ballots, those electronic cartridges that hold the votes from those electronic voting centers, those are being driven in. Some of the last cars, the last couriers arriving behind me here. Those cartridges, which have the votes from the voting machines, will be counted tonight and will be part of the results released on or before midnight. But those last paper ballots, I'm being told, are being locked up tonight and will be counted tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Now, let's talk about how these results are trickling in. Some of the early results have already been released by this office since 8 p.m. Some of the early final results around midnight, but then, of course, verification and updates will be coming in throughout the week as they verify that. So things will be wrapping up here soon, but it's only a break, with workers coming back in the morning, 8 o'clock, to finish counting those paper ballots. Back to you in studio.
All right, Candace, thank you. Let's get back now to all those votes that are being counted. And among those votes is for the governor's race. This, of course, a lot of people watching here in the state and across the country and really around the world of what we're doing here in California. Who's going to replace Gavin Newsom? And right now, we've been looking at this juncture in the night, Steve Hilton, Xavier Becerra are the top two candidates, but certainly the vote is not over. But those two would advance. Again, a live look now down in L.A. at Xavier Becerra's headquarters.
Yeah, and I think we're looking right now at Xavier Becerra's daughters. He has 3 daughters. They were out there a moment ago. We saw Xavier Becerra's wife. We're waiting for the candidate to take the stage. Xavier Becerra really considered at this point the establishment candidate for the Democrats. He was former Health Human Services Secretary, also served as the Attorney General for California. So he has a very long political track record as a Democrat, part of the Biden White House as well. Becerra has said that he wants to make California an easier place to navigate for Californians, that he's committed to doing that. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to take you to Xavier Becerra when he takes the stage. Okay, I All right, you're looking live now in Los Angeles. Xavier Becerra right now taking the stage, hugging his daughters after hugging his wife. Becerra, with the current numbers, appears to be headed to the November election, coming in just 1 point behind Steve Hilton, who is at 27%, Becerra at 26%. A major turn of events for Becerra in this race, who just a couple of weeks ago was not even in the top polling. We're going to hear from him right now.
Feliz, feliz. Primeramente, if I can begin by first saying to Carolina, Clarissa, Olivia, and Natalia, thank you so much. Gracias. Thank you to my family. You are. The California dream, it's alive tonight. And you see, I get to hug it and kiss it every night. We stand here at the birthplace of el pueblo de Nuestra Señora, la Reina de Los Ángeles del Río de Porciúncula, better known as LA. Like my family, LA is the starting line for millions of success stories across this state. And here in Hollywood's hometown, we love a good underdog story. So I got one for you. Se puede. 2 immigrants, $12 and a dream. They came to California in pursuit of a better life. A construction worker and a clerical worker. They faced long odds, hard obstacles, doubt and discrimination. But they've got ganas, guts, grit, and game all wrapped up in one. It keeps them putting one foot in front of the other. Cut to 7 decades later, their son, the product of their sacrifice, first in his family to get to a university and get a degree, takes his own leap of faith. He dares to run for California's higher office, the office of governor. A campaign fueled by little more than grassroots support, some sweat equity, and the full faith and confidence that California is always worth the fight. Almost immediately, he's counted out, an afterthought, overlooked by many, outspent by a ton. Even called along the way to drop out and save us all the trouble. Well, guess what? The underdog stayed in the fight. Like my parents, I never gave up. Never stopped putting one foot in front of the other. Never stopped believing in the beacon-like goodness of California. And thankfully, neither did you. Because we know the true miracle of democracy is this. After all the exhausting ads are run, the pundits are spun, and the billionaires try to buy their way in, it's the people, only the people, who get the last word. And tonight, the people of the great state of California, in the greatest nation on earth, have spoken. Loudly and proudly. And while I take nothing for granted, there are lots of ballots left to be counted. It appears that we are on track to advance to November. One step closer to the son of those hard-working immigrants, Maria and Manuel Becerra, becoming the next governor of the great state of California. Now that's more than a Hollywood ending, more than a milestone. It's the everyday miracle of living in a state that regularly makes the improbable seem inevitable. And I couldn't have done it without you. The doctors who clocked double shifts but still found time to canvass. The teachers who became our best volunteers the minute the afternoon school bell rang. the small business owners and union members who kept our economy running by day while walking door to door at night. The firefighters, the janitors, the caregivers, the nurses and longshoremen, the students. Most of all, I wouldn't be here without Carolina, Clarissa, Olivia, and Natalia. You are my superpower. You are my secret sauce. Everything I do for families just like ours who deserve their shot at the California dream. You know, I ran for the job because I know how important California is as a shining light to the world, radiating hope, freedom, opportunity, an unwavering belief in science, public schooling, enterprise, and foundational justice and human rights. California is America on fast forward. It's gleaming spotlights on the better angels of a more perfect union. A preview of an America, not just for the privileged or the partisans, but for all the people, by the people. An economic engine so powerful, so diverse, with more jobs, more capital, more R&D, more GDP. We lift up the entire nation. We are America's center tent pole. But I also know there are powerful forces aligned to darken our light. Distrust, disinformation, division, and distraction. Make no mistake, those forces did not want tonight to happen because their success depends on our failure. The last thing these forces want is a working class governor with a law degree and a union card ready to call them out. They know that I can't be bought. They know I can't be bullied. And they know I will not back down. Now, we also recognize that despite all of California's growth and innovation, wealth and workforce, there are still too many Californians who feel shut out, priced out of the winner's circle. They feel disconnected from the economy, from our government, from the job market, the housing market, and from one another. In this new world, it feels like the old guarantees no longer apply, and the promise of a brighter future is an artifact of the past. For all of California's greatness, we sometimes struggle to meet the standards we set for ourselves, or to be the example that a divided nation or the next generation of dreamers so desperately need us to be. Which is why, as your governor, I am ready to lead the fight to uphold California's promise. To make sure we have the governance worthy of our gifts. To ensure everyone, regardless of where you live, what you've learned, who you love, how you look, everyone has a rung on California's ladder of opportunity. It starts with access to affordable homes. We are going to launch a building revolution in California, starting with the thousands of shovel-ready housing projects already in the pipeline. And in America's wealthiest nation state, no excuse is acceptable for allowing people to live unsafely on our streets. A healthy economy also needs healthy communities. So we'll restore the promise of affordable health care with universal access in California, including our underserved and rural communities. We'll expand our global leadership on climate, safeguard our air, our water, and our coastline. And we will never surrender green growth jobs of the future to Washington politics or international competitors. We will invest in our schools like we mean it. Expand early education, childcare, and paid family leave, the real family values. We will fortify our second-to-none system of higher education, delivering the next generation of California leaders. We will defend our children from the epidemics of gun violence and dangerous street drugs. and treat public safety like a first-order principle, because it is. We'll be big-hearted, sure, but tight-fisted with our taxpayer dollars. We'll build a government that runs not on promises, but on time and under budget. And one that holds itself accountable when it doesn't. We will protect.
You're listening to Javier Becerra, the Democrat down in Los Angeles. At this hour, it appears that he and Steve Hilton will be the final two, the top two candidates for California's governor. A good opportunity for him to talk to his supporters. And there's so many ways that Javier Becerra is a product of the Bay Area and also Sacramento here in Northern California. Grew up in Sacramento, went to Stanford, got both degrees that he's received from Stanford, and now based in Los Angeles. And you can see the numbers there with Javier Becerra, he and Steve Hilton right now as the top two that they would advance to November.
Yeah, really laying out that platform for that November election if he advances there, and really positioning himself as the anti-Trump candidate as well, talking about immigration, talking about the American dream, one that his parents went through, one that he went through, and the changes and the California values. All right, let's pivot now. Let's head to San Francisco right now. San Francisco Supervisor Connie Chan is on stage in her bid to take over Nancy Pelosi's seat.
Look what you did in 6 months. What you did in 6 months, there are people that had tried to done in their entire career, in their lifetime, for years of work. They said they actually caved to billionaires and billionaire donors because they say this is the only way to win election. And tonight, you show them. We show them. How about that? We show them. We did this together. We show them. So I am just really grateful for all the work that we have done together. This is an amazing coalition. The work is not done yet. It just got started. Someone was asking us, hey, where is this, where is Connie Chan for Congress election party at? I tell them November 3rd. That's where our victory party will be at. But I know you get to sleep tonight. You get to party tonight. You get to sleep tonight. Tomorrow I have to chair a budget committee. So you can sleep in a little because you deserve more than that. And then on June 4th, we're going to pick up. We're going to pick up and make sure that we fight because we fight to win. So, you know how this goes when I say, when we fight, when we fight, when we fight, and we will win on November 3rd. Let's go!
That is San Francisco Supervisor Connie Chan, her bid to replace Nancy Pelosi, and it appears by the numbers right now that she, along with Scott Wiener, will advance to the November election. The top two candidates advance. It appears right now, Scott Wiener and Connie Chan. And Connie Chan, very electrifying when she speaks in public. You can see a glimpse of that right there. She is endorsed by Pelosi, by former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, by Adam Schiff. So she has a lot of endorsements. For her, she's hoping that'll pay off come November against Scott Wiener.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Well, as you told you a short while ago, for Matt Mahan and Antonio Villaraigosa jumped out of the gubernatorial race tonight, as did former Congressman Katie Porter, officially ending her run for governor tonight, just a short time ago. She did thank her supporters in a video shared on social media.
Hi, it's Katie Porter. Tonight is election night. The votes are still being counted, and it may take a few days here in California to have final numbers. But we know tonight that we will not advance to the general election in November. But as I look back on this race, I am so incredibly proud of the campaign that we built together. Together, we talked about the issues that were important to California, particularly affordability and bringing down costs, including making housing the top issue in our campaign because it's the top expense for most California families. Talking about taking on Donald Trump, abolishing ICE, standing up for the rights of every single Californian. That's what this campaign was about. It was a corporate-free campaign, a campaign that took not one penny from corporations.
That is Katie Porter conceding in this gubernatorial race. So we have candidates dropping out, and it appears at this hour we have two candidates moving forward. That would be Xavier Becerra and Steve Hilton. With us tonight, San Jose State Poli-Sci professor Melinda Jackson. Professor, we've had Republican governors in the past. If it stays this way, Becerra and Steve Hilton, what are the chances for Becerra, or maybe we should say, what are the chances for Hilton being the Republican?
Well, it's definitely more of a long shot for Hilton as a Republican in California. Democrats outnumber Republicans about 2-1, but we also have a large number of independent voters, the no party preference folks, and so that's who he's really going to have to win over if he has any chance of winning in November. It will be interesting to see, this campaign shape up. Clearly, Hilton is saying the state's headed in the wrong direction, that the Democrats have not had effective solutions to the problems that we face here with affordability, with housing, with, unhoused folks, and that there's just too much bureaucracy. Whereas Becerra is going to be running on his record and, the kind of establishment Democratic Party message, which, again, tends to be pretty popular in California. So it'll be an interesting matchup. And I think we're also going to be hearing some about Donald Trump in this governor's race, given that he has endorsed Hilton, and Becerra clearly is going to tout his record of challenging Trump and suing the Trump administration during his time as California Attorney General.
Melinda, can we circle back to Katie Porter, because she was of the 8 high-profile candidates, she was the only woman on the stage in all of those debates, and she started off in this race actually very strong with a lot of people supporting her. She had a couple of gaffes that had to do with her communication style with her own staff, and that seemed to derail her campaign. She was never able to come back from that. Was that the key thing, the perception of how women are, that derailed her?
I think that is very challenging for female candidates. We see it a lot, that they're criticized for their campaign management or communication style, or just, not being nice enough in some ways. And that tends to be held against female candidates in a way that it is not always brought up when we're talking about male candidates. So I think that did hurt her in this race, but she was in the debates. Voters also got a chance to hear from her, and she owned up to those mistakes and apologized for them. In the end, she wasn't able to recover, though.
It now becomes a 5-month sprint to this November general election. Melinda, thank you. We'll keep you on standby as we continue our live coverage through 11:30 this evening. A lot of other races and measures that we want to check in on. Let's go to Alameda County now. This is another high-profile race for district attorney. We're looking at Ursula Dixon here in terms of the DA. Pamela Price, if you recall, was ousted. She wants her job back. So right now, Ursula Dixon is in the lead for Alameda County's district attorney's race. Of course, a lot of votes still need to be counted.
All right, let's talk about a controversial measure of Oakland voters are weighing on. This is Measure E. It's $192 a year parcel tax to fund public safety programs. Right now, a vote for this is no right now. The no is leading, which could be a problem because this raises $34 million, and the city balanced its budget by banking on this parcel tax passing, supported by the unions but opposed by a lot of Oakland other people there at Oakland. You can see right now this is not going to pass, but it's still early.
There are 4 measures in San Francisco that are gaining a lot of attention. Let's bring in NBC's Chris Kimura. And Chris, I guess measure D. We go A, B, C, D. D is the one that it's the one that stands out. Should we tax the CEOs who make a lot of money? Should we tax them more? Where are we with that?
Yeah, so we just got numbers from San Francisco within the past couple of seconds here. It looks like they've counted. They're counting fast up there. 499 out of the 415 precincts are in. So let's check out the numbers. We start with Measure A. We're going to go alphabetically. That's a $535 million bond for firefighting, especially after an earthquake. The mayors, the soups, Speaker Emerita Pelosi, the Democratic Party, and the firefighter union supported this, and it looks like voters did too. 77% of them saying yes to that, despite some opponents, by the way, saying that not all that money is actually going to go to firefighting, as our investigative unit reported. Okay, next we're going to go to Measure B. That's lifetime term limits for the supervisors and the mayor, and it looks like voters in San Francisco are saying, yeah, we're good with that. The soups, the Democratic Party, the mayor, said yes to this, but the League of Women Voters, by the way, said no. The only loophole this closes is a loophole that allows voters to decide things. Nonetheless, looks like we're going to have lifetime term limits in San Francisco for the soups and the mayor. Okay, now to the juicy ones, C and D. These are the ones dealing with the overpaid CEO tax, and C was supposed to kill D, and lots of money going back and forth. It's looking like neither of these things is going to pass. Between the two of them, about $10 million spent, and no on C. And if we advance to D, it's looking like we're going to get no on D as well. It's interesting because that one made a lot of news and involved a lot of big companies and a lot of big names. It'll be interesting to see, Raj and Jess, if they try this again at some point. We'll see.
They might rewrite it, and they always do. They try to come back in a different form. Thank you, Chris.
All right, we're going to let you get another look here at the numbers where they stand for the gubernatorial race at this point, with 27% for Steve Hilton, 26% for Xavier Becerra, who we just heard from. Tom Steyer still in the 3rd position, but at this point, it does look like Xavier Becerra and Steve Hilton may be advancing to the general election. We'll be right back. Oh, no. Do you know?
Do I know if we're going to do them?
No. Have we gotten new numbers for LA?
No, I haven't seen since like the 38-30.
Okay.
But I'll check.
As we approach the 11 o'clock hour, the results keep rolling in. Literally, you can see the ballots right there, and the candidates keep dropping out. We're following the latest results in this governor's race.
All right, let's talk about Scott Wiener, one of two projected to move ahead in the November election in the race to take over Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi's seat in Congress after nearly 40 years.
A lot of smiles for Scott Wiener right now. Let's bring in NBC's Begad Shaban in San Francisco at Scott Wiener's campaign headquarters. Begad, take it away.
Yeah, hey, Raj and Jess. It has certainly been a celebratory night here at Scott Wiener's campaign headquarters. We heard from a fairly confident Wiener, but seemingly humble as well. He said while he's certainly claiming victory tonight, he added that the bigger battle begins tomorrow. According to his campaign's analysis, they are fairly certain that they will face off against current San Francisco Supervisor Connie Chan. But you actually wouldn't know that by listening to his speech tonight, because he directed the majority of his attacks to President Trump, essentially telling his supporters that he believes his large lead tonight is evidence that he will be able to once again capture victory over Connie Chan in the general election. Here is some of what he told his supporters this evening.
And tonight showed, and the voters have told us, that San Franciscans understand something very fundamental. That at this moment in history, with rising authoritarianism, we cannot afford politics that simply preserve the status quo. That does not work.
Now, Scott Wiener has, of course, served in the California Senate for the past decade or so. And while Democrats there have enjoyed a super majority, he tells us that he still has experience in working with colleagues across the aisle, unlike, he argues, his main opponent, current San Francisco Supervisor Connie Chan, whose political experience largely revolves around her position on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, which Raj and Jess has historically been known as somewhat of a liberal bubble.
Yeah, Begad, thank you. And that's certainly going to be a strategy. He's done it on the city level. He's done it in the state level. And now he believes he can do it in the federal level in terms of the House of Representatives, Scott Wiener's campaign there.
Yeah, big name recognition in San Francisco for the 5 years he was a supervisor and all that he's done as well. All right, let's take you back to the governor's race, give you another look at those numbers for you. Again, right now, Steve Hilton and Javier Becerra appear to be moving on to the general election. NBC Barry's Damon Trujillo has been at Matt Mahan's party this evening, and Mahan was one of the first to drop out of this race.
Yeah, Jessica, and you have not heard the end of Matt Mahan. Everyone has left that election night party here at San Pedro Square in San Jose. But Matt Mahan didn't mince words when he said how strong he felt that California needed to improve and that he is going to need the help of all the supporters here to make that happen. He spoke at about 8:25 p.m. here, just after the polls closed, and mentioned the state of California a lot. He says that his favorite job, he has the best job in the world, being the mayor of San Jose, and tomorrow it's get back to business. But also tomorrow for him means get back to business in improving California. California, California, California. He kept repeating it over and over. We asked him about the results here and maybe who he might endorse after this. Take a look.
It looks like Steyer, Hilton, Becerra. Who will you support?
Well, that's a question for tomorrow. I mean, I need to really reflect and have a thought about, I need to see where this ends up. They got to count all the votes first.
Sorry, one note over here. Would you consider running again?
Look, right now, I'm going to be focused on my day job. I think I have the best job in the world. I love being mayor of San Jose. I'm going to keep doing that work.
And he shared a lot of the ideas that the accomplishments that he's had here in San Jose on attacking the homeless situation, affordable housing and whatnot. He says that when he brought that up at the debate stage, that a lot of the candidates kind of adopted those same ideas. They visited San Jose. He's toured with them what he means about some of these tiny homes and temporary homes that he's established. He says that a lot of the candidates adopted those ideas. So he thinks he's onto something. Unfortunately, he says he was only on a campaign trail for 4 months. If he had a year, maybe things would be different, according to Matt Mahan.
All right, Damien Trujillo at Mahan headquarters there in San Jose. Let's bring in Melinda Jackson, political science professor at San Jose State. We'll stay with the Mayor Mahan theme here. We've seen Congressman Sam Liccardo come from the mayoral ranks in San Jose. If he doesn't run for governor again, could that be a route for Mayor Mahan in terms of Congress?
It could be. There'd have to be a seat come open, though. This is another theme I think we're seeing in this election cycle is sort of some generational change, right? We're seeing a younger generation of Democrats in particular getting out there and in some cases challenging some of the older generation for some of these seats. So I think Matt Mahan, you know, he is very popular as mayor of San Jose. He's definitely got a lot of energy. He's getting his name out there. And I think we're definitely going to be seeing more of him in politics in the years to come.
Was this first foray just one to kind of start getting his name across the state? I mean, he really did jump into the race very late to get enough traction to make it to the next round.
He did enter the race late, and I think that definitely hurt him in not having as long a runway to build his campaign. But it was also a pretty wide open race, especially after Swalwell dropped out. So I think, you know, it ended up being Becerra who was able to get that momentum and break through the pack of Democratic candidates, but it could have been another one. So I think that Matt Mahan, you know, really had great hopes when he entered the race, for sure.
Melinda Jackson, thank you very much.
We're going to take a short break, be right back. We'll leave you with some of the results right now in this gubernatorial race as we enter the 11 o'clock hour. Stay with us.
Well, guess what? The underdog stayed in the fight.
Right now on this special election night of NBC Bay Area News, the results keep rolling in. We're following the high-stakes California governor's race, which at this point still remains too close to call.
Is that a little premature to write the words, change is coming? I don't think so, because change is coming.
The Republican Steve Hilton is energized, and three candidates on the flip side have already conceded, and we're expecting more ballots to drop and roll in before this night ends. And we might actually not know the final results until tomorrow or beyond. But as of right now, Xavier Becerra and Steve Hilton are in the driver's seat. We have live coverage of all these high-profile races across the state. Good evening, and thanks for being with us on this election night. We've been on air and live streaming since 8 o'clock. I'm Raj Mathai.
And I'm Jessica Aguirre. The race, the whole state and much of the country is watching closely. Who will replace Gavin Newsom as the next governor of California? Several candidates, as we have mentioned, have already conceded. Here's where things stand right now. Steve Hilton with 27% of the vote. Xavier Becerra trailing right behind with 26% of the vote. Tom Steyer right now trailing behind those two with 20%. The question is, who will advance. Right now, it does seem that Steve Hilton and Xavier Becerra will be heading to the general election, but the votes still have to be counted.
Tom Steyer remains confident. In fact, we heard from him just a short while ago in San Francisco at his election headquarters. With that said, let's bring in NBC's Gia Vang, who is at Tom Steyer HQ in the city. Gia.
Yeah, Raj and Jess, they finished strong. The night is young. That was the message from Tom Steyer tonight. It was not a contested speech, and actually we see him still here inside the Regency Ballroom in San Francisco. He addressed the crowd, and then he came to talk and take photos, shake hands in the Regency Ballroom here. During his speech, the billionaire Democrat candidate, he railed against corporations, other billionaires hoarding wealth. It is in line with the progressive message of the kind of race that he ran, making it more affordable for the working class who fear getting priced out of California. Take a listen to some of what he had to say.
And I'll be the first to say it. That isn't how the system should work. You shouldn't have to be a billionaire to run on single payer. We've done the hard work and we did it together. Together we put the corporations on notice. Together we demanded more and better for the best state of them all. And now we just have to be patient.
And Tom Steyer has left the room. Now we'll see if his message reached enough voters to send him to the November general election. We're live in San Francisco. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Gia. Now, an interesting part of this election night is what's happening down in L.A. The mayor's race making national headlines, and it could be emblematic and really putting Democrats on notice here.
All right, let's check in with our Garvin Thomas, been keeping an eye on what's happening in Los Angeles. And Garvin, we're talking about a reality TV star proving to be a major disruptor in this race and really putting Karen Bass on notice.
Exactly. You know, this is a race that has been gaining national attention, outsized attention, even for the second biggest city in the country. Let's take you right to the results we have so far. Karen Bass has been projected by NBC to be one of the candidates moving on to the November election. You see 37% of the vote. Now, the candidate that has sparked so much attention and interest, that's Spencer Pratt with 29% of the vote. So at this point, it does appear that he will be moving on to face Karen Bass in the November runoff. We heard from Spencer Pratt just a few moments ago.
Again, I got in this because as a citizen, I felt like my city failed myself, my neighbors, my family. And when I got on this mission now, I look around and the city's failing most of Los Angeles.
Interesting. Pratt got into the race because his house burned in the Palisades fire, but he really brought the issues of homelessness, street crime, quality of life issues to the fore, to the point that Karen Bass had to address them in her campaign as well. We also heard from her just over an hour ago.
Oh my goodness, it is wonderful to see so many people. How are we doing tonight? Are we gonna win tonight? I will tell you it's looking good so far. We got a lot more to go, but so far it's looking good. And I am so glad to be here with everyone on a night. In a couple of hours, we will declare victory.
Yeah, such a contrast coming up for this November runoff between the two candidates, one a lifelong politician, one a neophyte in politics, but very different resumes and very different styles. Raj and Jess, it's going to be fascinating to see how this campaign moves forward.
An only in Hollywood type of situation.
These 5 months are going to be wild on a lot of levels. So here we go. We were talking about the governor's race. We're talking about the L.A. mayor's race and also the district to replace Nancy Pelosi. Who's going to replace her? This is District 11. And right now, based on the numbers that we're seeing, Scott Wiener will advance along with Connie Chan, the supervisor in San Francisco. Scott Wiener and Connie Chan advancing to November. Let's bring in NBC's Marianne Favreau, who is at Connie Chan's election party tonight in San Francisco. And Marianne, as you know, she was actually endorsed by Speaker Emerita Pelosi.
Well, she just came out here and talked to all her supporters. She ran down here on stage, and they were so excited. Everyone is celebrating the fact that it looks like that she will make it onto the November election. Thanked her supporters for going door to door, canvassing neighborhoods for her, and they also also talked about working for working class families and fighting billionaires. I did a one-on-one interview with her, and here's what she had to say.
But we knew that what we were hearing at the doors and on the phone, we know that voters are excited about us.
What role do you think Pelosi's endorsement would be a play?
Absolutely. Her endorsement actually turned the tide for us. Absolutely, that's for sure.
And of course, she's referring to the fact that former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi endorsed her just 2 weeks ago to replace her in the 11th District congressional seat as a candidate. So she was really thrilled with that. She said that made a big difference. But she also said that she's always felt like they were the underdog. I asked her about the fact that Scott Wiener is ahead, and she said, it doesn't matter. We were the underdog before, and we are working hard, and we know what the people want. We want more for the working class families and less for the billionaires. So she said they'll be out canvassing the neighborhoods once again to try to win in November. Reporting live in San Francisco, Marianne Favreau, NBC Bay Area News.
Well, it does, like you said, Marianne, does it look like Connie Chan will be moving forward, and so will former San Francisco supervisor and current state senator Scott Wiener.
This is what he had to say to his supporters just a short while ago.
Tonight, the people of San Francisco sent a very clear message, and the message has been received. San Franciscans are ready for bold, forward-looking leadership, for real results, not just words, and a new generation of leaders, a new generation ready to take on the hardest issues facing our country.
At this hour, in third place and not likely to advance to the November general election, political newcomer Troikat Chakrabarti. He told his supporters tonight that the fight, though, is just getting started.
We need a new generation of candidates powered by people to go to D.C. and not just fight Trump, but to build a society that works for everybody, not just the richest few.
All right, Troikat Chakrabarti, a relative newcomer going up against really some established candidates there, but is not likely to advance to this November election. But again, optimistic for his role in this race as well.
All right, let's take you to the South Bay. Voters deciding on who'll be their top prosecutor. Let's give you some of those results so far. Longtime district attorney since 2011, Jeff Rosen, facing off with one of his deputy prosecutors, Daniel Chung. There's been some bad blood with them for a couple of years now. Right now, it seems that Jeff Rosen will continue to move forward. He could see 60% of the vote.
And in the Bay Area's biggest city, San Jose, a lot of open seats for the San Jose City Council. This one specifically an open seat for District 9. This seat formerly held by Vice Mayor Pam Foley, who is stepping down due to term limits. And right now you can see Jenny Altwer in the lead in San Jose for that district race.
Let's share the results. Watching closely as well, the race for lieutenant governor, the person next in line if the governor is absent or vacates the office. Eleni Kounalakis is termed out. We're trying to bring those numbers to you right now. We don't have them on the board. But let's talk about District 4. This is the San Francisco Board of Supervisors right now. You're seeing this is for District 4, which is Sunset and Parkside area. Alan Wong right now has 50% of that vote. He was appointed by Mayor Daniel Lurie in December.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in just 60 seconds. We have a lot to get to as we're rolling past the 11 o'clock hour now, waiting for more results to come in. We have an update on the other races that we're watching. Stay with us.
What was going on?
Welcome back to our political coverage here on this election night. Are the ballots secure? That's a big question for a lot of people. And is the vote counting process transparent?
Yeah, we want to bring in our Candace Wynn, who spent all afternoon and evening at the registrar's office in Santa Clara County. And that's really been a big issue, not only here in the Bay Area, but all across the country, about the issue of voter integrity and whether the votes are being counted.
Yeah, that's right. We spent all afternoons having access behind the scenes here, talking to them about the processes they have to count as many ballots as they can. Even if there's issues with them, there's multiple people to adjudicate them. It's very transparent, allowing us back there. If you came by during the day and said, I want to take a look at this process, you will be allowed to have a tour inside. You know, it's past 11 p.m. Right now, so it's quiet behind me, but here is where things stand right now. The last ballots are in this office, the Registrar of Voters office. They came from Stanford, and funny enough, Stanford had some of the last ballots at the last major election as well. As of tonight, this office here has processed some mail-in ballots as well as the votes from those electronic cartridges. Those are all part of the results that we're seeing trickling in shortly after 8 p.m. now all the way up until about midnight. But there is still a lot of counting and verification to be done in the coming days and even weeks. For instance, tomorrow morning they'll be counting the last paper ballots that were cast today, and then in the coming weeks they'll be processing, tallying a lot of those mail-in ballots. Those take the most time. Those need to be cut open, the envelopes. They need to be manually flattened out by individuals, verified by people, and then counted through the machines. And I'm hearing they still don't even have all the mail-in ballots that are postmarked today. So again, quite quiet behind me here. People have gone home just for tonight, but things are going to kick right back up at 8 tomorrow morning. Back to you in studio.
All right, thank you very much, Candace. Let's talk about some controversial measures. One in Oakland, Measure E. It's an annual parcel tax of $194 to raise $34 million each year for emergency services, crime fighting, homelessness, illegal dumping. A yes on this would support that parcel tax and raise those $34 million. Right now, it is 54% of the vote for no, 46% yes, but we're still waiting to see what the final numbers will be in this.
A lot of talk about Richmond and the race for mayor. What's happening there? This has been a much talked about race because of the backstory. This comes as the current mayor, Eduardo Martinez, faced calls to resign over social media posts that he shared about the mass shooting in Australia. That promoted his post anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Now, the mayor has apologized for the comments, and right now you can see where everyone stands. Manuel Jimenez right now leading over Ahmad Anderson and Antonio Martinez in the race for mayor of Richmond.
All right, San Francisco voters had 4 measures on the ballot that they had to look at. We want to check in with Chris Camara tracking those races for us. Chris.
Yeah, it's looking like businesses spent a couple $1 million to save a couple $100 million. We'll get to those in just a minute.
Okay, we're having a little audio problem there, but Chris is going to get his act together with his microphone, and then we'll go back to him. But again, those were 4 different props. Are you ready?
He's ready.
Okay,
all right,
Chris
let's
is ready.
go back to Chris.
AA batteries, amazing. Yeah, okay, so the deal is here, looks like some businesses spent a couple $1 million to save a couple $100 million in San Francisco. I'll get to that in just a second. First, we'll start with Measure A, which is a $535 million firefighting bond. Looks like voters are saying yes to that, an increase in property taxes to improve some of the firefighting infrastructure, as well as improvements to a muni yard. Measure B is lifetime term limits for the Supes and the mayor. Voters said yes to that. The Supes and the mayor actually backed this. The League of Women Voters did not back this, but it's looking like that is going to pass. Okay, now to the juicy stuff. Measures C and D. These are the ones that were duking it out. C was designed to kill D. C looks like not going to happen. 36 to 64. D, not going to happen most likely. Looks like the numbers are 55-45 right there. If D had passed, the controller said that businesses in San Francisco would have to spend somewhere between $250 and $350 more $1 million in taxes. Like I said earlier, I think it'll be interesting to see if they tried this again. We'll see.
Yeah, Mayor Lurie not against or was against Measure D as well. Thank you, Chris. Okay, in the East Bay now, can the ousted district attorney of Alameda County get her job back? It doesn't appear likely for Pam Price. The voters in the East Bay deciding on the future DA's office, the future of the office itself.
Well, at this hour, the woman already in that position, we're talking about Ursula Dixon Jones, has a commanding lead. These are the numbers with 64% of the vote. Pamela Price trailing way behind with 24%, and Gopal Krishan with only 12%. Alameda County Board of Supervisors first appointed Ursula Dixon Jones as the county's DA in February of 2025, after nearly 63% of voters approved a recall of Pamela Price in 2024. Price ran on a progressive platform. Now Jones Dixon is back, and she says she wants to continue in this term and then try it again. She says she's focusing on putting victims first. She spoke with Arvelina Jones.
My expectation is the voters are saying that the recall was not a mistake. They will be heard again, just like victims will be heard again. And so it's my job to usher those victims' voices in. It's the voters' job to issue, again, another mandate about how they felt about the prior administration and the direction they want to take now.
Well, as you showed you, Dixon still has a commanding lead right now. If those numbers hold up, the candidate with the majority of the vote would win, which would be Ursula Jones Dixon. If no candidate does not get a commanding lead or more than 50%, then two would face off in the general election. Within the hour, Pamela Price did release a statement which reads in part, quote, with less than 17% of the vote counted tonight, we have a lot of votes still to be counted. As we know, Republicans vote early and Democrats vote late. So we are seeing the power of the MAGA movement in Alameda County in these early returns. It goes to say, please continue to watch the count. And for those of us who pray, keep the faith. There are many more votes to be counted in the coming days.
One of the big issues we have here in the Bay Area and really across California is housing. We need more housing. Is this the way to do it, though? Measure A in the East Bay. This is also known as the Land Preservation or Anti-Sprawl Act. For decades, the county has a boundary to protect its open space. Now, this would extend that policy to 2051, protecting 65% of Contra Costa County land from development. Critics say this will make it harder to address the housing crisis. And right now, it appears overwhelmingly by almost 70% that yes on Measure A to extend this boundary to protect the land into 2051.
Let's stay in Contra Costa and give you a look at Measure B right now. You can see this is a sales tax increase. Right now, the vote is 59% no, 41% yes. This would add a new sales on luxury goods and corporate purchases and would raise $150 million annually. Supporters say the funds are needed to backfill federal cuts to CalFresh, healthcare, and housing programs. But at this juncture right now, it does look like this is failing.
All right, we are going to take a short break from our election coverage and actually talk about our weather. It was fairly glorious today. Let's bring in our chief meteorologist, Jeff Ranieri. How are we looking, Jeff?
And temperatures right now are dropping and pretty quickly. 50s here widespread across the Bay Area with also some areas of fog beginning to roll in. So we will see the fog and also some clouds mixing in here for tomorrow morning. But the big difference here, this is going to clear out and quickly by 10:30 in the morning. Sunny skies across the Bay Area. That stays right here through the afternoon. So morning temperatures down in the 50s across the Bay Area. Some relatively light winds out of the west-southwest at 8. But with that increased sunshine, numbers warm up by the afternoon. Look at this. 87 in Napa, 84 Martinez, 86 Livermore, 80 here in San Jose, even mid-80s in Palo Alto, downtown San Francisco, right here with 72 and that sunshine. Okay, let's move it into that 7-day forecast. You'll see in downtown San Francisco, we hang on to low 70s right through Friday, dropping off just a little bit cooler this weekend. And then by the time we head into next Tuesday, we are watching some unusual June rain just off to the north. We have not added that on the 7-day forecast yet, but certainly something we are going to be following here in the coming days and across the inland valleys. We'll stay on the warm side here through Friday with those upper 80s, but then those numbers are pretty much perfect Saturday and Sunday with upper 70s, and then we'll see some low 80s as we move through next week's forecast. So looking good here through the next several days, but again, the big thing here is possibly mid next week we could see some rainfall in Northern California. So we're going to sort all that out. We'll get more updates, and of course we'll share them with you tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeff. We, of course, are continuing to monitor the high-stakes California governor's race. Here are the results streaming into the newsroom right now. You can see Steve Hilton and Javier Becerra at this point leading the pack. We're back in a moment.
Hello, 123, coming to you from the big screen. What's up?
We haven't heard from Tony Thurmond all night, have we? Mm-mm. But we haven't seen him voting. He's been kind of MIA.
Welcome back to our election coverage. Here are the latest results for the California's gubernatorial race. And you're seeing the numbers haven't changed much in the last 90 minutes. You see Steve Hilton, the Republican, and Javier Becerra, the Democrat, what seems to be those two as the top two vote getters, so they would advance to the November election. That's based on the numbers we have right now. So nothing is certain, but it could be headed to a Republican versus Democrat for the November election. And we have a history here in California of having Republican governors, from Pete Wilson to George Deukmejian and, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then the bottom half of the polling here of the numbers, you see Katie Porter. She has conceded. San Jose's Mayor Matt Mahan, he has conceded. Villaraigosa, the former mayor of Los Angeles, he has conceded. No word yet from Tony Thurmond or his campaign.
All right, let's bring our Scott Budman in. Let's talk about that. We had the three that conceded this evening, but we haven't heard from Bianco or Thurmond.
Yeah, it's true. And as we look forward to November, we know at least a few people who are not going to make it. Yeah, a couple have been silent, but we recently, within the last hour or so, have heard from three of the candidates now who have dropped out of the race. Something of a foregone conclusion because they've been so far back since the numbers started to come in earlier this evening. First, from San Jose, Mayor Matt Mahan telling his supporters he's officially out, and also Katie Porter about an hour later dropping out as well.
Well, this campaign for governor ends tonight, which Nina and Luke are frankly kind of happy about. Our mission has only just begun.
Running a race like this isn't easy, and coming up short is hard. But democracy is worth doing hard things for. Stay in the fight, stay in touch, and thank you for believing in me.
And then we heard from Southern California candidate Antonio Villaraigosa announcing earlier tonight that he too is dropping out. Jessica and Raj, you made the point earlier with the speeches that we heard from the last couple of hours from both Tom Steyer and Chad Bianco. Not officially speeches of resignation, but something kind of like it. And we will keep you posted through the night. Back to you guys.
And we'll have to see how it all plays out tomorrow when we hear more and more votes are counted. We'll be right back.
Stay with us.
Welcome back to our election coverage. We're all running through some of the congressional districts and where they stand. We're going to start with the 14th congressional district in the East Bay. This is the seat being vacated by Eric Swalwell. Right now you see State Senator Aisha Wahab with 35% of the vote, and former Dublin mayor and current president of the BART Board of Directors at 16%, Melissa Hernandez. This seat was vacated by Swalwell as he tried a gubernatorial run. There is also another race, so it looks like these two will advance. There's another race, which is a special election, which will take place in June 16th to complete the term, and both of these women are running in that as well.
A sizable lead right now at this hour for Democrat Sam Liccardo. This is District 16. This is parts of the Peninsula and South Bay. You see the incumbent there, Sam Liccardo, with a big lead over Peter Soleil. Sam Liccardo, the former mayor of San Jose, and now looking for his second term in Congress in the House of Representatives. We're back in a moment.
Primary day may be coming to a close, but the vote continues to be counted tomorrow. Let's give you a look at the gubernatorial race where it stands right now. Steve Hilton with 27% of the vote. Democrat Xavier Becerra with 26%, and in third place right now, Tom Steyer. But again, the votes still need to be counted. Giving you a look at the other candidates, Katie Porter, Matt Mahan, and Antonio Villaraigosa have all conceded the race tonight. Tony Thurmond, still, we haven't heard from him, but his numbers at just 1%.
The last word goes to our political analyst, Melinda Jackson, a professor from San Jose State. Professor Jackson, here we go. If this stands, if it's Xavier Becerra and Steve Hilton, in a nutshell, the strategy for Hilton and the strategy for Becerra moving forward for these next 5 months.
Well, it's going to be a classic insider versus outsider race. We've got, the career politician in Becerra at the state level in Congress and as a cabinet member versus the political newcomer who wants to shake everything up and, take a new approach to fixing the problems in California.
It's going to be a wild ride in these next several months. But again, we don't know the final results until they become final, perhaps into tomorrow as well.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us. We are our prime time extended coverage. Of course, we're going to have the latest on all the results for all of the races tomorrow. You can count on us for that.
Our morning news begins at 5 a.m. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Good night.